swimming, swimming, swimming. Oh yeah.
I'm chasing dragons, this dragon's got my head. Out robbing people, but I'm an honest man. I'm chasing dragons, this dragon's got my head. Out robbing people, but I'm an honest man.
Let me tell you straight up, homie, this story's not rehearsed. Demasiado drogas, but with this I'm feeling cursed. I done a little tiempo, paid for my crime. I got out on healthy, now parole's going just fine. Smoke a little, yes, God, no more black sand. Gotta feed me holly, cause now I'm an honest man.
I'm chasing dragons, this dragon's got my head. Out robbing people, but I'm an honest man. I'm chasing dragons, this dragon's got my head. Out robbing people, but I'm an honest man.
Met a chick named Anna on my way to work one day. She had me hypnotized, I tried to pull away.
Let the sounds.
I come in peace, don't be mean. You'll be scarred if you've seen the things I've seen. Below the rate, different states. He got a girl, but he fucked me anyway. I'm sorry. How do you cope when you want it? The things that you do when you're starving. It's all the same, we play the game. Every move we keep on getting better. No stress now. And I'll be living like, no stress now. Ooh, I just wanna live my life. Poolside while I'm swimming in the sky. No stress now. And so it goes, and so it ends. Make amends, but we'll never being friends. Stuck in your ways, had your day. You're a stubborn motherfucker, get out the way. I'm sorry. How do you cope when you want it? The things that you do when you're starving. It's all the same, we play the game. Every move we keep on getting better. No stress now. And I'll be living like, no stress now. Ooh, I just wanna live my life. Poolside while I'm swimming in the sky. No stress now. The things that you do when you start. No stress now. Love me that way, boy, you're a star. Call me, I'll meet you wherever you are. Give you my days, nights in the dark. No, I can't keep you the way that I treat you. No stress now. And I've been living like, no stress now. Ooh, I just wanna live my life. Poolside while I'm swimming in the sky. No stress now. Love me that way, boy, you're a star. Call me, I'll meet you wherever you are. Give you my days, nights in the dark. No, I can't keep you the way that I treat you.
Lonely is the only type, parachute me, I'm coming back down. God dang, everybody coming at my throat now. I'm about to sell all my real estate. Who need a $3 million house? Who need a whole damn car collection? It goes back to 1948. I'ma buy a trailer park and put Earnhardt flags in every single window pane. Like, my life is like a zombie land would be. Strapped up like Call of to the mental blocks. Everywhere is my mental spot. Xfinity with it, my thought process got its own motherfucking routing box. I'm bulletproof to y'all cyberspace, not codependent on a record label. I beat the game, they know I did. Check these missed call from these millionaires. Atlantic probably looking like they found Atlantis. Hand steady like a human praying mantis. Fortnite, your whole hilltop. Take the fucking glider back to my golden palace. 100 years from now, I'll be cruising in the clouds. 1,000 angels in the crowd, but for right now, I'm on a lonely rock, hiding in a lonely spot. Lonely is the only top. Parachute me, I'm coming back down. Parachute me, coming back down. Parachute me, coming back down. Lonely is the only top. Parachute me, I'm coming back down. The top is no place for me, oh. I seen it through a scope and they don't know. Yeah, the bottom's where the party's at, where I can roll up super fat, get baked in random parking lots like, hey, hey, hey. Mainstream can't even handle this. I'm good cannabis when you ain't smoked no good since 96. And now I stay rolling up like I'm Tupac Shakur, lighting up the Biggie Smalls, conspiracy theories in the blunt. 100 years from now, I'll be cruising in the clouds. 1,000 angels in the crowd, but for right now, I'm on a lonely rock, hiding in a lonely spot. Lonely is the only top. Parachute me, I'm coming back down. I'm coming back down. Coming back down. Lonely is the only top. Parachute me, I'm coming back down. If you feel like you're falling, tell me and I'll also make the leap. And if you feel like you're empty, let me in your soul, I'll fix the leak. Ooh. I've been down and I didn't want to get up, staring at the sun, not caring if I dried up. The whole world around me steady looking at a screen. People like, quit bitching, cause that's how they found me. But my number's climbing still, don't forget to call my mama and tell her that I love her, not bother her with the drama. Cause tomorrow's not a promise, it's a blessing, and that's honest. And that's coming from a sinner, so when I sleep inside my coffin, I hope you hear me in your dreams, hope you learn from my mistakes. Hope you open up your mind to the power nature lets us take, and embrace the vibrations of the freedom in the wind. Born to be great, make a change and live it all again. If you feel like you're falling, tell me and I'll also make the leap. And if you feel like you're empty, let me in your soul, I'll fix the leak. Ooh. Rock bottom ain't bad if you need a rock in your life. Every great man busted a block at the bottom. Am I right? Don't reply, cause I already know the answer. I've lived so many lives, some of the old ones I can't even remember. My eyes seen 1,000 years, my body seen 27. This is my year of fighting the music industry devil. So when I turn 28, I'll take a shot of holy water. 100 proof that you ain't gotta fall inside the pit of darkness. You ain't gotta listen to me, I'm a speck inside the ocean, but I'm swimming in the water where you ponder up a purpose. Take my insight, cause I'm caring as an individual. This life is complex, getting hard to keep it simple too. So on your way down, don't worry about the ground. This dimension will give out, and we'll be right inside. If you feel like you're falling, tell me and I'll also make the leap. And if you feel like you're empty, let me in your soul, I'll fix the leak. Whoa. Whoa.
smoke, but he taking all my trees. You told me when he hit it, it's like swimming in the sea. I hate you playing middle, tell me is you on my team? Tired of the hate, I bet I'm all like 2 for 3, yeah. Get back, tell my vibe I smoke the best you ever had. Seeing visions of the old me, yeah. Telling stories, but I don't hear that. Nah, nah, nah. Couple things that you noticed. Looking back on my history, yeah. Is it so bad? So hopeless, fuck my past. Can we move on, please? I plead the fifth. I fucked up once and you never forget it. I call it quits. Why you hit so hard, put me through all this? I plead the fifth. I lost you once, I can go there again. I call it quits. Yeah, you ask so much, but you ain't innocent. Why you so conceited? Lay your guard down, please. Everything you're wishing for is right here with me. Need you by my side because I get lonely. Hate it when you cry and when you argue with me. Couple things that you notice. Looking back on my history, yeah. Is it so bad? So hopeless, fuck my past. Can we move on, please? I plead the fifth. I messed up once and you never forget it. I call it quits. Why you hit so hard when my heart's bleeding? Yeah, I plead the fifth. I lost you once, I can go there again. I plead the fifth. Got your heart on froze, but you went and said eso. No me tengas miedo. Te quiero a mi lado. Olvida el pasado. Gotta know you're the one for me. Head to toe, you look so damn sweet. I really love how you move on me. I hate the part when you pressed on me. I gotta roll, cause after all that, I still wanna be yours, yeah. And I'm really curious. Focus, you're the one that I chose. Why you gotta leave me hopeless? Leave my heart on froze.
From the west side, where the cowboys roam the night, the Monte Carlos rumble by under these faded old street lights. Oh, oh, on the west side, where rules don't apply for a man on a mission. Either you live or you die. This is my struggle, this is my story, this is my life. Whoa, welcome to my
I was
west
born in the flood so I can breathe underwater. My father was a martyr on the cross for sons and daughters. Karma's got a price and I collected that payment. Smoke clears, burnt rubber, empty shells on the pavement. Smoke lingers, ears ringing, blood dripping from a trigger finger. Feeling like I'll never get right with God. If not, I'll gain his trust and gun down the devil. Boondock Saint, 2 Glocks and war paint. Soul not for sale and my heart's never faint. They kept saying that I couldn't, but I never claimed I can't. See, the grind's always worth it when you're searching for a purpose. I came up out the furnace, belt and boots made of surface.
from the west side, where the cowboys roam the night, the Monte Carlos rumble by under these faded old street lights. Oh, oh, on the west side, where rules don't apply for a man on a mission. Either you live or you die. This is my struggle, this is my story, this is my life. Whoa, welcome to
I was
my
12
west
years
side.
old, walking the H&H market for some big league gum and a NASCAR Liddell Earnhardt. Skateboarded at St. Luke's, ran from neighbors' pit bulls. Yeah, them things had no chains like a broken ass mongoose. Played T-ball at Charlotte Park with 210 Hillwood class. And I hung out with some crazies down on California Ave. I met them through my cousin Timmy the summer that I stayed out west. Riding around in that single cab, bumping the definition of real album. Who harder than me? Yeah, that shit puts me into that vibe.
Makes me wanna pull out that 90s Monte Rosa tread off of them tires. And every time I pass Metro, I think about that time we swapped seats on I-40 doing 105. From the west side, where the cowboys roam the night, the Monte Carlos rumble by under these faded old street lights. Oh, oh, on the west side, rules don't apply for a man on a mission. Either you live or you die. This is my struggle, this is my story, this is my life. Whoa, welcome to my west side. Whoa, welcome to my west side. The only poison I've had is ivy. The only man I fear is God. No snakes can make me run now, 'cause I've been bit by a moth. No bug can stare me down, no neighbor can shut me up. I'm off the grid and I'm off my rocker. I'm off in the holler sun. We them holler boys. Holler if you needed something done. Holler if you need a chip. Leaving two black marks down a one-way road. Yeah, we them holler. The only fight I've ever been in was taking up for somebody else. The only time I got my jaw jacked is never, but damn sure not quite yet. The times I miss the most are the times nobody knows. When it was me, my cousin, and a couple of my buddies racing down old Sam's Krieger Road. We them holler boys. Holler if you needed something done. Holler if you need a chip on the shoulder and a hand with a loaded gun. We'll be out that screen door, no shirt on, leaving two black marks down a one-way road. Yeah, we them holler boy, native to the holler soul, washed in the spring of a farmer's joy. We them holler boys. Holler if you're needing something done. Holler if you need a chip on a shoulder or a hand with a loaded gun. We them holler boys. Holler if you needed something done. Holler if you need a chip on a shoulder and a hand with a loaded gun. We'll be out that screen door, no shirt on, leaving two black marks down a one-way road. Yeah, we them holler boys.
It's 108, wide awake when I hear that special ring, stomach sinks, 'cause you know I'm already pulling out the drive. I'm up and I'll be there in 5. Turning right at a light when it hits me. You feed me lies to put your hands on my body. I'm helpless in the morning light, knowing I fell for it 100 times. Finally put my foot down on the gas, speeding past your place. On my left, I I swear it's like a drug when you're holding me, but I got the remedy. I know exactly what I need. I'm gonna scream your name out the windshield, tell the rain how stupid I feel. Unleash every tear on the wheel, crank the radio. Every old country song about letting go. Keeping my eyes on the road and off the rear view. My mind between the lines and nowhere near you. Cause driving this car right back into your arms ain't what's gonna fix me. I just need a little back road therapy. It's 2 o'clock on the dot and you text me. Where you at? You don't know. I'm already 30 miles out of town. And I don't think I'm turning around. Cause Jody's singing bye-bye. Catch you later. Keep that lead foot on the accelerator. But I still hear your voice echo in my head. So I turn it up to 10 and drive until I'm over it. I'm gonna scream your name at the windshield. Tell the rain how stupid I feel. Unleash every tear on the wheel. Crank the radio. Every old country song about letting go. Keeping my eyes on the road and off the rear view.
Well, I thought they was coming back, but I guess they're just resetting the cameras.
Special ring, stomach sinks, 'cause you know I'm already pulling out the drive. I'm up and I'll be there in 5. Turning right at a light when it hits me. You feed me lies to put your hands on my body. I'm helpless in the morning light, knowing I fell for it 100 times. Finally put my foot down on the gas, speeding past your place on my left. I swear it's like a drug when you're holding me, but I got the remedy. I know exactly what I need. I'm gonna scream your name out the windshield, tell the rain how stupid I feel. Unleash every tear on the wheel, crank the radio. Every old country unleash every tear on the wheel, crank the radio. Every old country song about letting you go. Keeping my eyes on the road and off the rear view. My mind between the lines and nowhere near you. Driving this car right back into your arms ain't what's gonna fix me. I just need a little back road therapy. Need a little back road therapy. Cause I need a little back road therapy. I keep on falling in, and I love with you. Sometimes I love you, sometimes you make me blue. Sometimes I feel good, at times I feel used. Loving you, darling, makes me so confused. I keep on falling in and out of love with you. I never loved someone the way that I'm loving you. I never felt this way. How do you give me so much pleasure and cause me so much pain? Just when I think I'm taking more than would a fool, I start falling back in love with you. I keep on falling in and out of love with you. I never loved someone the way that I love you. Baby,
I'm not in love, so don't forget it. It's just a silly phase I'm going through. And just because I call you up, don't get me wrong, don't think you got it made. I'm not in love, no, no. It's because still standing, just lying there. So don't you ask me to give it back. I know you know it doesn't mean that much to me. I'm not in love, no, no. Ooh, you wait a long time for me.
Hey, someone gave me 40 cans of the Frisky wet cat food. Should I mix that with the dry food or just do it separate? I don't give my cats wet food, so I don't know.
When the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay, oh, I wanna be there, yeah.
I know I should sometimes, but I worry about that wet food.
So you think you're lonely? Well, my friend, I'm lonely too. I wanna get back to my city by the bay. It's sad. There's been mornings out of the road without you, without your charm.
Oh, did I play Vince Gill? I don't think I did I?
When the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay,
Okay.
oh, I wanna be there, yeah, in my city.
Okay. Yeah. Ooh, try. So try it by itself and then try it one time mixed to see how it goes. Because what I have as dry food is the turkey, and it's just turkey. There's nothing else in it. And some of the stuff I have is like chicken. Well, some of the Friskies is like chicken and tuna, and I think white fish and tuna or something like that.
Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. I don't care how much money I gotta spend. Got to get back to my baby again. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. When she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. Listen, mister, can't you see I got to get
Okay.
back to my baby?
Yeah, I'll try that. I'll try mixing it.
Anyway, yeah, give me a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. When she wrote me a letter, said she couldn't live without me no more. Listen, mister, can't you see I got to get back to my baby once more? Anyway, yeah, give me a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. My baby just wrote me a letter.
count the times I almost said what's on my mind. I didn't.
Whoop! I didn't mean to hit the mic.
Just the other day, wrote down all the things I'd say. I couldn't. I just couldn't. Baby, I know that you've been wondering. So here goes nothing. In case you didn't know, baby, I'm crazy about you. And I would be lying if I said that I could live this life without you, even though I don't tell you all the time. You had my heart a long, long time ago. In case you didn't know.
I know I'm behind.
The way you look tonight, and that second glass of wine, that did it. And there was something about that kiss, girl, it did me in. Got me thinking, I'm thinking all of the things that I've been feeling. It's time you hear 'em. In case you didn't know, baby, I'm crazy about you. And I would be lying if I said that I could live this life without you, even though I don't tell you all the time. You had my heart a long, long time ago. In case you didn't know, you got all of me. I belong to you. Yeah, you're my everything. In case you didn't know, I'm crazy about you.
Got DJ Vestiges up in here. What? Sorry.
In case you didn't know, no, no. In case you didn't know, oh, 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 oh.
Lay a whisper on my pillow. Leave the winter on the ground. I wake up lonely. The stare of silence in the bedroom.
Oh, nice.
All around. Touch me now. I close my eyes and dream away. It must have been love, but it's over now. It must have been good, but I lost it somehow. It must have been love, but it's over now. From the moment we touched till the time had run out. Make believing we're together, that I'm sheltered by your heart. But in and outside, I turn to water.
Yeah, I got over 1,000 songs, and most of them's 80s. Well, I think I got from 73 to 98 mixes, different songs. In Second Life, I used to DJ at the 80s club, so I had a whole list of songs that I needed to get for the guests in the club. So.
It must have been love, but it's over now. It must have been good, but I lost it somehow. It must have been love, but it's over now. From the moment we touched till the time had run out. Yeah, it must have been love, but it's over now. It was all that I wanted. Now I'm living without. It must have been love, but it's over now. It's where the waters flow. It's where the wind blows.
You ever lost someone you truly love? Still blame yourself you didn't do enough? Reminisce just the two of us on them back roads riding through the mud. Now I'm stuck, I can't let you go. What the future holds, I'll never know. Till I die, you'll live through me. I'll paint your name on every road. Drinking whiskey, kicking dirt. Can't explain how much it hurts. Hope you rode through hell
Right,
before.
me too.
Lifted up in that 4x4. Country bred, that's how we cope. Bonfire and a little smoke. When it's my time to go, I hope heaven's got a back road. Heaven's got a back road. I'm okay with the streets of gold, but that ain't how I roll. I hope heaven's got a back road. Heaven's got a back road. I'm okay with the beats of pearl, but when I leave this world, I hope heaven's got a back road. He lived his whole life to put the uniform on. Now he's dead and gone. Salute the ones that died to set me free. Moment of silence. I'm tired of the riots and the nonsense. I feel like everyone's forgotten about who God is. Us country folk will survive, and when I finally take that ride, I hope heaven's got a back road. Heaven's got a back road. I'm okay with the streets of gold, but that ain't how I roll. I hope heaven's got a back road. Heaven's got a back road. I'm okay with the beats of pearl, but when I leave this world, I hope heaven's got a back road.
lying safe in bed. It was all a bad dream spinning in your head. Your mind tricked you to feel the pain of someone close to you leaving.
I'm gonna grab me some coffee. If this happens to pop up before I get back, I am so sorry. But I'm just gonna walk back here, grab coffee, and be back as fast as I can. Well, I'm gonna put my Splenda in my cup now. That way I don't have to worry about coming back and doing it.
There's a place I like to hide, a doorway that I run through.
And I gotta go to the litter box too.
Relax, child, you were there, but only did
Okay, I'm gonna pause this, and I'm gonna change over. And if they come back, if it'll be all good. Sorry for the silence, but I'll be back. Let me take care of this, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back and did all that. Now I'm going to switch back and turn the music back on.
you were scared. It's a place where you will learn to face your fears, trace the years, and ride the winds of mind.
It's gonna be a long stream. Might have to make more coffee here in a little bit. Any breaking news that I can cover for the time being? Let's see.
I'm smiling next to you in silent lucidity.
Well, there is something going on. Let's see if I can capture it. There's a massive fire going on. Let's fix this. I am going to take it down to here. I didn't hear a time, so that's why I'm like,
Open your mind for me. You won't rely on open eyes to see.
hold on a minute.
Still see the active fire there as they get
I
those
didn't
lines
hear a
of water
time,
out
so
on
that's
this
why I'm
blaze.
like,
Again, this has been burning about an hour and 20 minutes, I want to say, as we await new information. But we are learning from city officials in Deer Park that there
Hold on a
is no shelter in place as of right now.
And we do have crews there, and we also have crews on the way. Rochelle told us a little while ago that she saw emergency crews moving that way to help
Still see the
put out
active
this
fire
fire.
there
Lots
as
of
they
people
get
I
those
didn't
lines
hear a
of water
time,
out.
Let's
so
go down
that's
this
why I'm
lane
like,
now.
Again, this has been burning
and see what
about
she's
an hour and
seeing
20
as it's
minutes,
out.
I want to say, as we await new information.
Hey,
But
Candace,
we
hey,
are
Lisa,
learning
we're
from city
still
officials in
seeing
Deer Park
the
that
fire
there is no
going
shelter
up right
in
now
place
here
as
at the
of right now.
Shell plant here
We do
in
have
Deer
crews
Park.
there, and
I
we
can
also have
tell you
crews on the
that
way.
maybe here in the last
Rochelle
maybe
told us a
2
little while
minutes,
ago that she
we
saw
have seen the
emergency
flames
crews moving that way
kind
to
of
help
calm down a
see
little
the
bit, but the
fire
smoke
there as
is
they get
I
those
didn't
lines
hear a
of water
time,
out.
Let's
so
go
that's
down
why I'm
this
like,
lane
Again,
if we
this has
can
been burning
and see what
about an
she's
hour
seeing
and
there's
20
an
minutes,
echo.
I
I'm
want to
so
say,
sorry. I'm
as
working
we
on it.
await new information.
Hey,
But
Candace,
we
hey,
are
Lisa,
learning
we're
from city
still
officials in
seeing
Deer Park
the
that there
fire
is no
going
shelter
up right
in
now
place
here
as
at
of
the
right now.
Shell plant here
We do
in
have
Deer
It's in
crews
Park.
there,
Houston?
and
I
we
can
also
tell
have
you
crews
that
on the way.
maybe
I'm
here in the
working on
last
the
maybe
echo.
2
A little while
minutes,
ago that she
we
saw
have kind of calmed
Still
down a
see
little
the
bit, but the
fire there
smoke
as they
is
get
I
those
didn't
still
lines
hear a
of water
time,
out.
Let's
so
go
that's
down
why
this
I'm
lane
like,
now if
Again,
we
this has
can
been burning
and see what
about an
she's
hour
seeing
and
there's
20
an
minutes, I
echo.
want
I'm
to
so
say,
sorry. I'm
as
working
we
on it.
await new information.
Hey,
But
Candace,
we
hey,
are
Lisa,
learning
we're
from city
still
officials in
seeing
Deer Park
the
that there
fire
is no
going
shelter
up right
in
now
place
here
as
at
of
the
right now.
Shell plant here
We do
in
have
Deer
It's in
crews
Park.
there,
Houston?
I
and we
can
also have
tell you
crews
that
on the way.
maybe
I'm
here in the
working on
last
the
maybe
echo.
2
A little while
minutes,
ago that she
we
saw
have kind of calmed
Still
down a
see
little
the
bit, but the
fire there
smoke
as they
is
get
I
those
still
didn't hear a
lines of
very
water
time,
out.
big,
so
very
Down
that's
this
why I'm
blaze,
like,
again, this has been burning
and see what
about an
she's
hour
seeing.
and
there's
20
an
minutes, I
echo.
want
I'm
to
so
say,
sorry. I'm
as
working
we
on it.
await new information.
Hey,
But
Candace,
we
hey,
are
Lisa,
learning
we're
from city
still
officials in
seeing
Deer Park
the
that there
fire
is no
going
shelter
up right
in
now
place
here
as
at
of
the
right now.
Shell plant here
We do
in
have
Deer
It's
crews
in
Park.
there,
Houston?
and
I
we
can
also have
tell you
crews
that
on the way.
maybe
I'm
here in the
working on
last
the
maybe
echo. Okay, hopefully it's that echo stops.
In another area of this fire. Mario?
Yeah, let me just step away and show you the sign right now. This sign behind me here. It is very loud. It is very intense, but it is nothing like what it was about an hour ago, according to an eyewitness. I'm going to bring him in here right now. Bob, as we come in here to this shot here, what can you tell me happened and where were you?
That echo
I was
stops.
in the power plant right next to the refinery. I believe it's a Shell refinery, but I'm not positive.
Here in
But I was
another
told there was an
area of this
explosion,
fire.
and then
Mario?
we were waved off of the power plant. And
Yeah, let me just step away and show you the sign right now. The
flames
sign
felt
behind
like they
me
were
here.
right on top of us. And they were shooting probably 400 or 500 feet up in the air, so it was unbelievable.
Bob, it's pretty loud out there. We can hear, so we can have you speak up as well if you don't mind, so you don't get drowned out by this intense fire that's burning behind us. How high were the flames at one point?
Oh, they were at least 400 or 500 feet in the air, easily. And then they started flaming it off on those burners, whatever you call them, and they were another 1,000 feet in the air. It was just unbelievable.
So how many facilities are we talking about here? This is the Shell plant behind us that's currently engulfed in this flame here.
Right.
But how many others are there?
Well, that's the only one, and the power plant in front of it. I don't know if there's anything on the side of it, but definitely the refinery there and then the power plant.
And obviously everything has been shut down and just to let this burn out. Is that correct?
That's correct. I know that at least 3 of those units in the power plant were running, and I look back and they're not running anymore.
When you turn around now and you take in this site behind us here and you're looking at that flame, you see it burning out there, but you see them working very quickly and drastically to try to get this under control. What goes through your mind as a worker?
What happened? What could possibly have happened, and how sickening it is?
How lucky do you feel considering you were working just a few yards away from there?
Well, I feel very lucky, and we kept waiting for an explosion, and thank goodness another one didn't happen.
So you indicated that you didn't hear the first explosion, is that right? The only explosion, I should say.
That's correct. I didn't. When we were called off the site, we turned around and there was flames shooting up. I actually thought the power plant was on fire.
It's a big task. Obviously, they're working as quickly as possible. How well prepared are these types of facilities for these kinds of emergencies?
Well, I know the power plant is very prepared for it. We evacuated immediately. Within 10 seconds, we were off. But I can't speak for them back there because I don't know what their safety protocol is.
All right, well, listen, Bob, I appreciate it, all right? I'm going to have you stick around here, but I'm going to just let you know that Harris County Pollution Control, I just saw a truck roll right in front of me here in the midst of our live shot. They're obviously monitoring everything that's going on with the way this plant is burning and all the toxins that are going into the air as we speak. Again, this happened about an hour and a half ago, and I will tell you this, as we were coming around on the Beltway, my photographer Giovanni Luna and I, we were able to see this for miles, and you saw the flaring going on for miles as they're obviously burning off exactly what's happening there is they're shutting down this plant and burning everything off, helping this get under control.
Gas
but it is quite the
go
scene. And I will tell you, it is extremely, extremely loud right here. We're standing some good 500 yards away, at least, and it sounds intense. It sounds like white noise on a TV set at maximum level. And you can see the intensity of the fire as it's raging behind me there, right past on the bottom there on that one building. And you can see the firefighters and first responders doing everything they can to put this situation out as quickly as possible. But dramatic live scenes playing out right before us here in Deer Park. Again, this is the Shell facility that we believe that's been impacted here this afternoon through this fire. And fortunately, as of right now, we know that people got out of the power plant that's tied to it. They evacuated those individuals. We're not sure, obviously, about the rest, but details at this moment are very preliminary as first responders work to get this under control as quickly as possible.
Know that you were able to find one eyewitness there. Around you, are there other people watching who were in any of the other plants? What are you seeing around you?
Sorry.
You know, that's a good question. I'm going to ask in case there's some people that are worried. You were the only person out here. Where did everybody else go in case they have family members that might be worried from your plant?
Well, everybody from the Calpine power plant has evacuated that I know of.
Okay. And why did you end up over here in this vicinity?
Well, I wanted to make sure the power plant wasn't going to burn down, so I wanted to get a better angle at it.
Got it. Okay. And usually in these kind of situations, what do they do to get you guys out away? Do they have a meeting location for families?
Yep. The evacuation point is where everybody musters. They take your name, and then you're allowed to leave.
Okay. I appreciate it, Bob. Thanks for that quick update there. But that's a quick response to the question there. I mean, obviously, this is a worst-case scenario for any business when you see an emergency like this. you do have contingency plans. And it appears that they do have, obviously, a meeting location for workers when something like this does take place.
Yeah.
But they're working very feverishly behind me to get this under control.
Yeah, I mean, tough for the business. Imagine the families who don't know what's burning right now, and they're worried about their health. Again,
yeah, there's
Deer
a
Park
lot of
Office
people going to be
Emergency
sick
Management
after
saying there is
this.
no shelter in place. Mario, I know you've had eyes on this burn for a better part of an hour. Have you seen an improvement in conditions here after they have lines of water? Are you seeing more white smoke, or still pretty thick?
No, it's still pretty thick black, but I will tell you, Daniela, you know, when I first saw this in the newsroom about 75 minutes ago, we were racing out the door. We saw how black and intense the smoke was. And as we were making our way here, it was still very much. And you saw a much higher flame in the air with regards to the fire. I'm not seeing, look, I'm still seeing a flame in front of me that's about a good 60 feet. And you see some of its tips going up to about 75 feet from just my estimates from where I'm standing. But it's nothing like what we were seeing earlier inside the newsroom. And I want to point out that where I stand right now is basically just to the, I'm looking to the west of the plant. The smoke from my vantage point is heading towards the east. I do see the bridge there, over there, the Beltway Bridge, just on the horizon there. So it's pointing towards that area, away from Deer Park and Pasadena, which are the neighboring big cities right here. But again, that's the way the wind is blowing for us right now. And that's why, obviously, first responders are trying to get this under control and done as quickly as possible, because they want to make sure that that smoke that you see there emanating from that building there doesn't travel into populated areas. But it is still, as you can see, very thick, and it is still very black, Daniela.
We got Lisa and Candace here with you, Mario. Is the employee who was with you earlier still with you?
Wow.
I'm sorry,
this is the
can you repeat
main
that
one.
again?
Is the eyewitness? I know. I'm sorry. I know it's so loud out there. Is the eyewitness still standing with you?
Bob, he has stepped away.
Okay.
I don't see him anymore. I'm walking around. But he was, when I first pulled up, he was the only person that was here, and he's gone. I'm getting away from one of my colleagues. He's left.
Yeah, and I know his quote, the flames felt like they were right on top of us. He was working in a plant right next door to Shell when this erupted. Mario Diaz live there at the scene. We will check back with you.
We don't
thank
know
you for all
yet.
of that information and context. We do have some viewer videos we want to get to of people who rolled with their phones on what they were seeing, and here you see the active flames there, Candace.
Right, and you can see in this video, this happened right before 3 o'clock, about 10 minutes before 3 o'clock. You can see the flames a lot more intense, in my opinion, in this video, so that's good to know. It's very intense right there compared to what I'm seeing from our Sky 2 camera right now.
Always good to see some improvement.
Right.
Here we are about 90 minutes since this all erupted. Jared, is there a second video that we have? And we appreciate our viewers sending these in. So we have all kinds of eyes on this breaking story. Here you see that thick black plume in the distance, someone driving nearby, capturing this video. And it just makes your stomach drop, because if you're in that area, you don't know exactly
if you're heading home,
what are we inhaling, and we're still waiting to.
Or worse, if you have a loved one who works in that area, you're concerned about what's happening there. Still lots of questions. We don't know what caused this fire. We do know that it's happening at the Shell refinery, and they are working to contain it. Multiple emergency crews from different agencies there now working to get this all under control.
And we have one more video from a viewer who sent in what they recorded, and it's coming up here, right here.
Oh wow, look at this.
They recorded there near their dash, and that giant plume. We've been talking to Frank this afternoon, this past hour, about weather conditions and how the wind actually is working in favor of fire crews.
One good thing here.
Yes, and a new video here as well. I'm sorry, thank you, drone video of, again, that infamous plume that we've been covering for the better part of 90 minutes ago. This was shot about 10 minutes into the fire's start, when things were looking pretty dire. Again, it's obviously not out, but it's better than when it was closer to the 3 o'clock hour, Candace.
And we're hearing from our producer right now, more information from Shell. They're saying a shelter in place is not necessary at this time. That's more comforting to know that we're not having to do a shelter in place. Again, we don't know what's burning though, so if you happen to be in that area and you're watching us right now, we've been saying it since 4 o'clock, or earlier, keep those windows up, and try to stay inside and just watch us, and we will keep you up to date with what's happening here because we're getting information minute by minute.
So wind conditions working in their favor, heat indices not so much. Let's talk to Frank right now for the conditions fire crews are dealing with.
Yeah, well, it's all about those winds because to put it in a word, it's not being spread far and wide. When you look at that plume, it's generally straight up and a little bit from south to north. Yeah, so if we had some big strong winds, it's been breezy this week, especially at night.
Yes,
if we had a really strong wind, then whatever this was would have been spread so quickly around the communities. But A, Shell is saying it's not dangerous, and B, we don't have those kind of winds. So that's all certainly positive. I got the first signature on this at 2:56 this afternoon, and you can see when it was really thick, and it's much better now. It is just I'm looking at it in another screen, and well, there you go in the bottom screen there. It's not nearly what it was, and you can see the same thing on this signature because when this first started, it was easy to pick up with radar right there. It was simple. This is going to go back to let me go back to this one. This is the one that we were really picking up earlier, and look at that. I mean, it was easy to find where that signature was with that smoke. But as time went on, things have begun to thin out. So this goes back to 3:30, and you can see it's hard to really find too much more of that on radar. What happens is the radar goes out, and then it's reflected back so that we get a picture of where the rain is. It's reflected back by hail or raindrops that are heavy enough to fall as rain, or really big raindrops. That's how we know where the rain is and how severe it can be, how fast it's falling. All of that we get from our radar. But when you have smoke billowing like it was earlier, you can get this kind of a signature. Now, the good news is I'm not seeing a whole lot now. So what we had earlier in channel view is really beginning to wind down. You can see a little bit of those green spots there, but we're not seeing that currently. That's pretty much your current picture there after an hour and a half. And I'm not getting any of that signature, which is to say that this whole smoke plume has really begun to thin out. So that's good news. These are the winds, and just depending on where you are, LaPorte is as close. Deer Park is right here, and this is where we're looking. So we got Hobby with the south wind and LaPorte with a bit of a southeast wind. And so as Mario, I think, was saying that this was all moving, it looked like to the east, and that's because of that southeast wind pushing it more to the east. So that's what we have been seeing, but keeping it away from 225 so it did not go south over that area. One little bigger shot here, you got 15-mile-an-hour winds, Lake Jackson and Galveston, but those are closer to the water. So inland, we've had generally 6 to 10-mile-an-hour winds. So that's good news. The temperatures, though, are not. Thank goodness that this is not one of those fires that a lot of firefighters have had to be involved with, because fighting a fire is tough enough. But when you have 90-degree temperatures, 91 at Conroe, 92 at College Station, that's a lot of heat. And the humidity there, 55, 62%, making it feel more like 97, 98 at Liberty, 99 in Conroe, 101. We've been talking about these kind of temperatures and these heat indexes all week long. We were expecting them as we moved into the weekend. We got them today. We're going to see them again on Saturday, and we're going to see them again on Sunday, it looks like. So the good news from the weather department is the south wind has been on the light side, and you can see the signature that we got earlier is no longer visible on radar. So that indicates that all of this is beginning to thin out and get under some kind of control. So that's the good news there. Lisa?
We'll take all the good news. Thank you, Frank.
Yes, Frank, thank you.
We're going to go back out now to our Rochelle Turner. She was the first reporter on the scene. Rochelle, how are things looking now? Are you seeing them looking to contain the flames and the smoke?
Candace, right now it still looks the same as it did when we got out here about an hour ago. Take a look. You can actually still see some of the flames in the air and that thick black smoke, and it just doesn't look like it has changed much at this hour. But the good news is that there is no threat to the community. And a few minutes ago, Commissioner Adrian Garcia, he tweeted that there are no injuries. So that's really good news, because I know you guys mentioned that, you know, there may be concerns about who may be in there, loved ones may be in there, but there has been no injuries reported so far. But we still don't know what is burning. We don't know what actually caused this fire, but from where we're standing right now, it's still very hot. The smoke is still very thick and very black, and there's lots of flaring in the sky as well. So we're continuing to monitor the situation from where we're standing. We have seen several people pull up, taking pictures, you know, trying to see what's going to happen, but right now it still looks the same.
They haven't got a hold of this fire
in the
yet.
air, and it's very loud. I would say that's the most crazy thing with this fire is that it's extremely loud. It sounds almost like a train is kind of headed your way. But we have still seen several crews trying to get out here, making their way out to this shell plant in Deer Park, trying to assist with this fire. We know that there's no injuries and there's no threat to the community, but we're going to continue to stay on top of it. And right now you can kind of see some of the smoke. It seems like it's going up into one direction. Before it was just kind of pushing off into the east, but right now it looks like it's going more up into the sky. Maybe,
yeah, it doesn't
just
look
maybe,
like there's any
I can't
reports
tell from
of
where we're
anyone
standing,
being
but
hurt.
maybe they may have the fire under control. It looks a little different now from where I'm standing. The smoke is not as thick, so maybe there's a good sign that they have gotten this fire under control and that the fire has been contained. But just from where we're standing, it seems just here in the past minute that it has gotten somewhat better. I'm not seeing the flaring and the fire that I've been seeing here in the past hour. So for right now, it does look a little better. And traffic, as you guys mentioned, I know you were asking about traffic. Traffic is moving along just fine. So we're going to stay out here and stay on top of this and be sure to keep you posted. As soon as we see a change with this fire, or if it improves even more, we'll be sure to let you know. But right now, from where we're standing, it looks like it is shooting more up in the air instead of shooting sideways. The smoke, it looks like it's a little bit more under control.
Well, that's really good to hear, Rochelle. I know you've been standing out there for about an hour. This has been happening for almost 2 hours. We're about 15 minutes into 2 hours. Rochelle, we're hearing that the Houston Fire Department is ready to help with this.
Good thing I didn't put this chat in my
a lot of emergency vehicles headed in there. Are you still seeing that? Are they still coming in there?
There's a lot of racist stuff being said.
So just here in the past maybe 10 minutes, we haven't seen any more crews come in. You guys can't see it from where we're standing. They do have this road blocked off to my left down here, where most of the crews have been setting up an area trying to get in to this fire. But from where we're standing, you guys won't be able to see it, but we can see that the road is closed. But from the looks behind us, it looks like the flames and the smoke are still billowing into the air, and everything seems to probably be under control. So we'll be sure to keep you guys posted once we find out more information.
All right, Michelle Turner, thank you so much.
Definitely looking better than when she first arrived about an hour ago. She said she did see people stopping by to take pictures of this as they all just watch and wait.
Right.
And as we watch and wait as well.
I mean, like we said, driving on the highway and seeing that, you definitely are wondering what's going on. You want to capture it, send it. You know, we've been getting viewers sending us video and photos of it. And Mario Diaz, he spoke to an eyewitness who actually worked in one of the plants near this Shell refinery that is experiencing this fire right now. He said they didn't hear anything when it happened, but they were told to evacuate. They had an evacuation plan. And when they came out, he said it was just intense flames and smoke. And from that time, when he had been out there about, 45 minutes, an hour, he had noticed that the flames, in his perspective, had gone down a lot. So he was kind of saying what Rochelle was saying there. It seems like things are getting under control. That's definitely good news. We are also hearing that the wind is working in our favor, like Rochelle mentioned. The smoke appears to just be going straight up. Frank has said that. And the winds are light, so that's good to know. That's working in the firefighters' favor.
And as Rochelle noted from Commissioner Garcia, Adrian Garcia saying there are no injuries that he's aware of to report here, and we're grateful to that eyewitness that worker who was working next to the Shell plant who said, man, those flames felt like they were right on top of us, that he's okay and everyone reportedly is okay. We'll, of course, keep you posted on that front. Shell did issue a statement about half an hour ago. The environmental duty representative at Shell Deer Park saying that they're currently experiencing fire within one of our units. The incident is being handled within the boundaries of this facility, and they say there is no threat to the community from this incident. They did say they apologize for any inconvenience that this may cause. So that coming from Shell this afternoon.
And that's a blessing in itself too, because there's other refineries around that area, and so it's self-contained, and, and that's good to hear. Our Mario Diaz is also on the scene. Let's go to him now. He's at he has different vantage point on this, excuse me. Let's hear what he's seeing right now. Mario?
Yeah, Candace, it really is a surreal scene, because if you drive up and down 225 over here, that cuts right through the ship channel, you drive through here normally, and you might see some flaring, but you won't see this site. And what you have obviously here is the Shell refinery. It's been under control now, but earlier it was fully engulfed in flames, and it still is a dramatic sight when you see all the smoke, and you got the highway right beside you. You're like, what's going on? We saw it from about a good 10 miles away when we were driving up here, and you saw the flames, how intense the smoke, and we're not seeing as much smoke as we were seeing earlier when we first got here. Again, to recap, this is the Shell facility. It's over here just north of 225, just outside of Deer Park on the ship channel. If you're driving around this area, you've got the ship channel bridge just over to my left here, about a good 2 miles away. So it's quite the sight for everybody that's working here. We did speak with a gentleman earlier that was working in one of the plants. There is a power plant right beside this facility, different company. He said that they were alerted. He got out, and they evacuated everyone out of that plant, and then he turned around a few minutes later, and he saw how fully engulfed
I just think that
this
we all
facility
needed
was. As he told us, he saw flames that, according to him now, were up 300 to 400 feet into the air. We're not seeing that now. We're seeing everything start to work its way down, and that's a credit to the first responders that are on the scene working this fire as quickly as possible. Since my last report, I did hear from a former executive within the refinery industry here along the ship channel, and he brought up a great point that I have come across in the past in our research through KPRC2 Investigates, that there is the Channel Industries Mutual Aid, known as SEMA, and they're also available for situations like this where everybody comes together and starts fighting these types of incidents when they do happen. How prepared are companies, chemical companies, refinery companies for these kind of situations? The facilities, extremely prepared. We know that they do have these emergency plans in place. We do know that they do drills, they practice. They also, at times, they'll have firefighters that will practice up at A&M, at Teeks, and they'll go through chemical fire training up there. I remember going up there following a Deer Park incident back in 2019 that took place. We were up there shortly thereafter to see the types of training. So you do have these first responders who are specialized to combat fires like the one that you are seeing right now. They do train, and you do have facilities, and you have management teams that establish emergency pathways and emergency plans and put them into effect the moment they sense a danger. As you heard from Bob earlier, they alerted his team right away, and the employees, they all evacuated and they got out. Sometimes they have a staging area in these situations, but the key is obviously to get out as quickly as possible. With regards to staging, we do know that officials have started to set up a media staging area, and they're going to be updating us on the situation as to what may have happened here earlier and the kind of efforts, the type of manpower that you're seeing to keep this fire from spreading and try to get it under control as quickly as possible. Also, what was interesting, I did see Harris County Air Pollution coming by into the vicinity earlier, a truck. They're obviously monitoring the situation because of all the pollutants that you're seeing going into the air in that black smoke. But again, right now the cloud is pointing towards the ship channel, heading northeast away from Deer Park and the Pasadena area. So the wind right now is in favor of not going into the populated areas, but they still have plenty of work here to do as they try to continue to get this fire out as quickly as possible. That's the very latest out here in Deer Park. Lisa, Candace, back to you.
Mario, are you seeing anyone else around there? We know that you talked to Bob, the eyewitness, who was kind enough to give us his experience of what happened earlier. Anyone else congregating outside near your proximity there?
Now, Lisa, I'd love to tell you I do, but I'm going to step out over here. I can tell you right now, this is the ghost town where I'm at. You can just look up and down this street here on the side road. There is nobody around here, and rightfully so. We're just a couple of media crews, myself, another crew, but that's it. We're the only ones out here right now capturing these images. We did have a couple of fire trucks that sped through here earlier, but it didn't seem as if they were speeding in terms of trying to get to the fire. It was more along the lines of just speeding around the perimeter. I did see one ambulance race through here. And again, that's obviously going to be a key question later on as to whether or not we have any injuries or if anybody else was impacted as a result of this fire. But that's the only ambulance that I've seen thus far. But I can just tell you, as I'm just standing here looking at this, and even as it's dwindling, and you can see the dramatic change in the smoke since we first got here in the last half hour, this sound is extremely intense. I'm sure you can hear it in the background of my voice here. You hear that constant hissing sound, and it is extremely powerful. And considering we're about a good 200 yards, 250 yards away from where first responders are fighting those flames right now.
All right, Mario Diaz, thank you so much for that context and keeping us up to date with what you're
looking
seeing
better.
right now.
Looks like the smoke has actually died down a little
that
bit.
Smoke, Lisa, it is a lot thinner than it was just at the top of this hour. So you can see they're making some progress there. Still some flames, obviously, but not as bad as it was when we first started this breaking news. We do know that no one was injured. At least that's what they're saying right now. Mario says that they're getting a staging area together where they're going to update us more with information on what exactly caused this fire and what exactly was going on and how they were able to contain it. And so we're waiting for more information as we continue to follow this breaking news.
We'll, of course, take that briefing live as it happens. They're going to be preparing for that. But yeah, this does look a lot better than it did an hour and 45, almost 2 hours ago when this first erupted. Both cameras here, live pictures, if I'm not mistaken, and the plume has shrunk in size. We do see in this bigger square here the active flame. It goes out, it comes back, it goes out, it comes back. The fire behavior, you know, something we're watching. But as you mentioned earlier, Candace, and as we heard from Frank, the winds are working in their favor. This isn't blowing all over the place. That plume is straight up for the most part, so that's good to report. We do want to check in with Frank Billingsley right now, who's been monitoring weather conditions and how they're impacting this fire.
Yeah, this is as close as I can get and still be able to see something on the radar. Here's 225, and here's Shelldock Road, and this is the area that we've been watching. It was about 2:56. I first started to get that signature on the radar as we got that, and then you can see I'll take it back down. That really was so thick when it all first started. It was thick enough for the radar beam to go out and pick up on something and then give us this signature and draw this out. This is the way we pick up rain, heavy rain. The raindrops and the heavy raindrops reflect that radar beam back to the radar itself, and then it draws it out. Hail, it's the way we see hail, and it is certainly the way we saw the smoke earlier today. You can see it was really thick, right around 256, and there's still particulates in the air. And according to Adrian Garcia, we're going to continue to keep monitoring the air. They'll go and they'll put some specific air quality monitoring out in this area. We've had moderate air quality all day, but certainly this is going to bring pollution into the area, obviously, with that black smoke. So they'll keep apprised of that. But you can see the whole green area that you see just kind of diminishes. That doesn't mean it's completely gone, but that means it's no longer really thick enough to give us that signal return. So that's why we don't see it. But clearly, if you live out there and you're looking up, you're going to see a very hazy sky nonetheless. So that's what we're seeing. Here's a little wider view on that. And there's 225. Fortunately, the winds have been out of the south and a little bit out of the southeast, and consequently have been driving the system off to a little bit to the west, a little bit off to the north. Never really got as far as any of the really thick smoke past I-10, but it did get to the Channelview area and right to I-10, and certainly you were seeing there right along the I-10 corridor. I believe they're probably seeing some very hazy skies because of this also. In the meantime, there's the winds. LaPorte, 15-mile-an-hour winds right out of the east, so east to west there, and then Hobby's been at 8, coming out of the south to north. The general flow has been 5 to 10-mile-an-hour winds out of the south, and so that's the reason that this moved right across Deer Park and right didn't go across 225. but right across toward Channelview and across the channel there. So that's the good news there. The bad news has been it's just so hot. Here's a look at some of the metro readings. Springs at 90, Pasadena at 90, Baytown 88 right now, downtown 90, Sugar Land 90, Tomball 91, the Woodlands 92, 91 at Cut and Shoot. And you factor in the humidity and the feels like numbers. This is about the first time we've had to drag this map back out of the closet. But 102 is the feels like number in Baytown, 106 in Pasadena, 102 down in Webster. So some very hot heat indexes or feels like numbers, and those are going to continue into the weekend. So if anything, it's good that we didn't have to have a fire where lots and lots of firefighters were having to deal with this kind of heat to get involved with that. So it was mostly, well, I think, self-put out. So that's the good news. 15-mile-an-hour winds, Lake Jackson and Galveston, 6 in Houston. So the winds really have been in our favor, and the fact that it has been from some south to north, keeping it generally out of Deer Park and Pasadena, but not such good news for the Channelview folks. But at least from what we're hearing, there's no shelter in place that's being required. There's been no injuries, and everyone is at least in good shape in that regard. Lisa?
We will take that, absolutely. Frank, thank you for the update on the weather conditions as we continue to update you on this breaking news of this Shell plant fire in Deer Park. We do have viewer video here, that big square on your screen. Folks sending us in images of the fire from this afternoon.
You can see how big that plume of smoke was. Around 2:55, I believe, is when we started this breaking news, following this breaking news, and it has drastically decreased since then. But this is a viewer driving in their car and seeing what was happening on the side of the road. Lots of questions. We're still trying to figure out what caused this. We do know that officials are going to address reporters in a bit, and of course we'll bring that to you when they're telling us more details about how this started. And we do know, though, what a lot of people might be wondering, nobody was injured in this fire.
Absolutely. If you're wondering about Deer Park ISD, if you have relatives, kids, grandchildren
I know,
who
that's
are
what I'm waiting on
students in Deer Park
too.
ISD, they did tweet an hour ago. We know the school day has since come and gone, but in the midst of the fire's biggest burn around the 3 o'clock hour, they did tweet that they were aware emergency officials have not called for a shelter in place. That is still the case, by the way. And they said because the wind is blowing away from our schools, school dismissal is taking place according to the regular schedule. So their bell schedule was not compromised in any way because of this, and they were able to get students out safely.
You're taking a look at the map right now if you're wondering exactly where this shale refinery plant is located. It is in the 5900 block of Highway 225 near Center Street. That's where all of this is happening right now. We're going to go back to our Mario Diaz, who is live on the scene.
Yeah, that's right, guys, and I will tell you that it's quite the scene. Fortunately, it's coming down. It's not as bad as it was when we first got here. We were starting to see this dwindle down with each time that we come back on the air to report live from the vantage point where I'm at. I'm on the southwest part of this facility from where I'm standing at, and let me rephrase that. I'm on the northwest part, forgive me, northwest part, and I can see I'm about, I would say about 250 yards away is where I'm standing, and you could just hear this intense sound coming from this facility. And then just over to my right here, you have 225, and you have traffic going up and down right in front of this plant still. Good news is, as we've heard from officials, no injuries with regards to anybody on site. There is no shelter in place. They've got it under control. They're just monitoring everything now very carefully, and they're working to put this thing out. Obviously, we've been in situations that have been much different with these types of fires, where they've gone on for many more hours, and you've had people had to shelter in place for hours, people having to stay inside their homes. Right now, there is no shelter in place currently in effect. Now imagine being an employee here working right beside this, and all of a sudden this goes boom, it goes off. Well, we spoke to one gentleman earlier, Bob. He was telling me that the alert went out, you got to evacuate, and then when he got out of the building and he looked back, he said the flames are going up about 300 to 400 feet in the air. Not the case anymore, as you can see behind me, but just imagine that side because of the uncertainty at that time. You're just minutes in, you're running away from a facility, you really don't know what's going on, and you see those kind of flames. Concerning. But fortunately, he was able to get out, everybody was able to get out from his company, which is right beside this Shell plant. And as we've learned from officials, there are no injuries, which really speaks really speaks to the planning that you have in a lot of these facilities, that if there's something that's going wrong or they kind of sense it, they immediately start to take the emergency actions that are needed to not only to protect their employees, but the surrounding areas as best as possible. And we do know that there is consistent training for first responders at these facilities up and down the ship channel at all points throughout the course of the year. Again, this fire erupted, about 2 hours ago from right now, I'd say, at about just after 2:30. When we got out here, or when I was leaving the newsroom, we were all watching the flames from our chopper. We were like, goodness, this is a significantly large fire. And it really is impressive to come out here and you're seeing these clouds, or excuse me, these smokes, just these smoke pillars just rise for miles and miles as we're moving in closer. And you're seeing obviously the plant flare everything as quickly as possible and as best as possible. And to see where we're at now, it really is remarkable, and it speaks to how efficient first responders have been in getting this down, because it is nothing like what we saw earlier, which is a good thing. But it's still a challenge. They're still working to put it out, and they're going to be here for quite some time, it appears, continuing to fight this blaze until they've got it completely out.
Yeah, certainly appreciate the work they're doing out there. We know it is a hot day. They're in that gear, heat indices in the area in the mid 90s to 100 degrees. So, Mario Diaz, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you bring up a great point there. I mean, you do have that issue where you have to make sure that your first responders are being hydrated throughout the course of this, because you do add about 30 to 45 pounds worth of gear. It's hot. You're already fighting hot flames, and you're sweating profusely, and dehydration can set in very quickly. So there is that other aspect of this, is that you need to make sure that everyone continues to maintain their energy, that they're well hydrated, and they continue to obviously find themselves in a position where they can be efficient as they're fighting a fire under these conditions. I mean, here we are, it's Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th, right? I don't know exactly what the temperatures are. I can tell you it's hot, though. I'm out here, I'm sweating as we're standing here telling this live shot. Imagine what it must be like with the heat of the flames and wearing all of that gear on top of it. So that is the challenge that they're facing, and you bring up a good point about the heat there on this day, as we find ourselves obviously embarking on a late spring day here, or excuse me, not a late spring, early summer type of day here in Deer Park.
All right, it is officially still spring though, but you're right, it is the hottest day we've felt in a while. So yeah, our thoughts are with those crews as they battle this right now. We know it is a hot day out there. Mario Diaz live on that side of the fire. We do want to check in with our Rochelle Turner, who's been monitoring conditions. Rochelle, what are conditions like where you are right now?
Lisa, conditions have gotten a lot better in the past 30 minutes. Take a look, that thick black smoke is still kind of coming from the air, but it's not as thick as it was when it first started just after 3 o'clock. We don't see flames shooting up in the sky anymore, so that may be a good sign that fire crews were able to get this blaze under control. But I can tell you, in the past 30 minutes, we have seen a significant improvement. The smoke not as thick, but it's still very loud and very hot. I can tell you that there has been no injuries reported so far, but crews are on scene trying to make sure that everything is under control. Shell did tweet out that this is being handled within their boundaries of the facility and there's no threat to the community. I don't know if you guys can see traffic, but it's moving along just fine. And the wind is not moving as much as it was when we first got out here. But from where we're standing, everything seems to have improved a lot. No more fire, no more shooting, no more flames shooting in the air, and the smoke has somewhat kind of started to be under control a little bit. It's not as thick and black as it was before, but many people are still kind of coming out here just taking pictures, wanting to see this for themselves. One person said they've seen the flaring before, but you know, seeing these type of instances at these facilities can be dangerous. But the good news here is that it seems like all of the agencies who are responding to this fire have everything under control. We do know that there's going to be a press conference happening very soon, and so we'll be able to learn exactly what started this fire and exactly what chemicals may be burning. But take a look right here for yourself. The flames are going down, they're dwindling down. It's not as thick and black as we've seen earlier in the day, so this is a good sign that things are starting to get under control, Lisa.
Yeah, certainly a lot better than things were about 2 hours ago when this all first started. Our Rochelle Turner live right across the way from the scene there as we continue to monitor this explosion at the Shell chemical plant right off 225 and Center Street in Deer Park. A live look from Sky 2 right here as those lines of water are still being poured on that fire. But Candace, a definite improvement from where we were at just before the 3 o'clock hour.
Absolutely. Look, what a difference this hour has made. Crews definitely making an impact here. The smoke, as Rochelle said, a lot less smoke we're seeing here. That the flames, not as, they were huge. They were huge when this first started at about 250 something when we went on air, and we can definitely see them going down there. Hot spots, it goes low, then it gets hot again, it goes back up again. So they're definitely making an impact here.
We are monitoring it all for you. We did get confirmation from Commissioner Adrian Garcia that there were no injuries reported here at the plant in all of this, so that's great to hear. Deer Park ISD didn't have interruption to their school day, and we're still waiting to learn more from authorities at the scene. They are going to have a media briefing coming up shortly. We'll take that live as it happens. And Deer Park Office of Emergency Management also reiterating there is no shelter in place as of right now. We will certainly update you if any of that information changes.
All right.
KPRC 2 News at 5 starts right now.
KPRC 2 News begins right now with breaking news.
All right, Keith and Daniela now joining you as we continue to follow breaking news near Deer Park, where there has been an explosion at a Shell refinery plant. We first interrupted programming to bring this breaking news to you live around 3:15.
This is what we know so far. The company has confirmed a fire is one of its, they've had a fire in one of its operating units and says there is no threat to the public at the moment. So far, we have no reports of injuries. Evacuations were done quickly. As Lisa just mentioned, there is no shelter in place at the moment. Officials telling us there is no need for that as well.
Shell was initially handling the fire emergency, but the plant is now getting help from firefighters from surrounding departments. We have live team coverage with our crews spread out in Deer Park. We first want to go to our Rochelle Turner. She is there not too far from that scene. Rochelle, what can you tell us?
Well, Keith, I can tell you that conditions have improved a lot in the past 30 minutes. You don't see that thick black smoke billowing in the air. It has improved dramatically. But I do want to bring in Mr. George, and he's going to tell us what he saw. Mr. George, tell us where you were when you saw this fire starting.
Well, actually, I was in front of my home. I only live about 4 or 5 blocks from here. I live on the opposite side of the freeway. And so my daughter was telling me that she heard something. So I came down here. I have friends that work in the plants, but it's getting really out of hand because it seems like we have explosions every month. The one at Enios about a month ago, that's directly across from my home. We don't know what we're breathing, you know, what's in the air. You see the black smoke, but I'm more worried about the white smoke because that's probably the product that's burning off. The black smoke is just from the fire, from the fire.
I can tell you that fire crews did tell us that they do have this situation under control and that there was no injuries that have been reported so far. We do know that there's several agencies.
Thank God for that. You know, I'm sure they're being up front, but I still say I go on all these plants and they're really old. The structures are old, and I don't think they want to spend the money to refurbish them. I was in another explosion in Beaumont about 2 years ago, and TPC blew up, completely blew the plant up, and I was just across the street. So when I go in there, my wife is worried about me being inside of one of these plants when something like that happens. And how no one got hurt, it must have started off slow, and they had time to evacuate. But there's going to be a time when they're going to have another Phillips 66 plant. I've been living in this neighborhood for 30 years, and there's going to be one bigger than that. That's what I feel, you know. So it scares me. You know, I have grandchildren, children that live all in Pasadena, Deer Park, and it's just getting to the point where it's unacceptable, you know? It's very, you know, I know we need this, but at what cost?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I totally understand your concerns.
Yeah.
But the good news here is that nobody is hurt, and we're still working to learn exactly what may have caused this fire and exactly what may be burning.
You can see the crane that's going, TNT crane, is going straight into that area. Whether they struck a line that caused it to go, that's just my speculation of the way they work in there. But yeah, who knows? You know, who knows?
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Sure. Thank you, guys. And so we just heard from a man who was concerned. He came down here to check out himself to see what was going on. But again, here in the past 30 minutes, we have seen big improvements here at this shale plant. The smoke is not as thick and black. We do see some white smoke also in the air. We're not exactly sure what that is, but we do know that the sheriff's office is getting ready to have a press conference soon. Hopefully we can learn more about exactly what may have caused this fire and what exactly may be burning. But a huge improvement for this community to learn that no injuries have been reported so far. There's no threat to the community and there's no shelter in place. So, and from our vantage point, it's still very loud out here. It's extremely loud. It's a loud hissing noise, and it's very hot, as almost we're standing right next to the fire. Even though we're on the other side, you can still kind of feel the impacts from that smoke and those flames. But a huge improvement since about 3 o'clock when we saw multiple crews from different agencies out here trying to get to the scene. There was a big black hole in the sky with smoke.
As the court
it
goes.
was something that I've never seen before, and it is happy to see that crews do have the situation under control. And as soon as we learn more information, we'll be sure to keep you posted on air and online. Daniela, Keith, I'm going to toss it back to you.
Yeah, Rochelle, it's great also to hear from people living in that community and people who have worked in that community. And how they feel about seeing this happen in their community. Rochelle, if we can get Rochelle right back up, we wanted to ask her a few questions. We know you've been there now for a while. You've seen that improvement, as you mentioned. Rochelle, if you can still hear us, do you smell anything? Like, does it smell like anything out there where you are?
So the good news is that we don't smell anything. We haven't felt anything different in the air. There's no burning sensation on our skin or our eyes. But I can tell you that the wind is starting to shift out west. So that's a good sign, because before it was shifting more into this area and we really didn't know what was going to happen. But it seems like they've got it more under control and the smoke is now blowing out west. So the good news, like you said, we don't smell, we don't see anything that may be toxic to people who live in this area. So as far as what may be burning, we're not sure, but we are going to learn more information about what may have happened here at this plant.
Yeah, Rochelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're on the south side. You're south of 225 across from the plant. You were able to get Mr. George there to talk to you, and we can see the traffic. 225, obviously one of the busiest thoroughfares in the Houston area. But what is the traffic situation like, and how are people in that area handling it? Because was it easy for Mr. George to get to you, or are there a lot of what some people would call looky-loos who were checking out this situation?
And Keith, yes, 225 it looks really good right now. When we were headed down this way, it was bumper-to-bumper traffic. We did see people pulling over on the side of the road, trying to take pictures. We saw people coming over here where we're at. We're in a parking lot just off the southwest side on Railroad Street. Just across the street is the shale plant. But as you mentioned, yeah, Mr. George, he was in the area, and this has kind of been the safe spot for many people to take pictures, to talk to us. And we did talk to one person who worked kind of close to the plant. They couldn't talk to us on camera, but they told us that, they didn't hear much when this happened, and they quickly got out of there. So right now, traffic looks good, and most people are just driving by, passerbys, just trying to get more video and videos of this historic fire here happening at the shale, and just everybody's thankful that no one was hurt and that it seems that it is under control.
right, Rochelle, thank you very much. It's a great view that we're seeing here with some gray, light gray smoke, which just shows some improvement there. Rochelle, thank you very much.
Yeah, right now we want to give you a map of the area. You know, a lot of us
doesn't even look like they're hitting the fire.
You know, Houston, the area. We have a lot of new people who may not know exactly where this is, and so again, this is State Highway 225 and Center Street. This is the Deer Park area. This would be part of the shipping channel area as well, and so you can see it's on that east, almost southeast side of the Houston area, and we're talking Deer Park. This is the city that it's in, and around Deer Park, of course, to the north is Channelview. We have a few other, obviously, other areas around there. Pasadena is not too far away, and in that Deer Park area, you have the Palm Terrace neighborhoods, Asbury Gardens, also Running Brook nearby. And the good thing is, well, unless you're in Channelview, the good thing is that those communities that are very, very near this, they are not having to deal with this smoke. And as you heard from Rochelle, she's not smelling anything. There's no eye irritation. So that's a very good thing right now. But that's the area that we're talking about right there.
All right. We want to go to Mario Diaz, who has been there also on the scene, speaking to some people. And let's go to him live, see what he is seeing from his vantage point, if he's seeing that same improvement. Mario, take it away.
All right, Danielle, let me step out of the shot there. You can see right behind me, there's the fire still burning, some 250 yards or so from where I stand right now. We got here just in the last hour. I can tell you that the flames have been cut down dramatically from when we first arrived. I mean, when we first saw the images here, it was truly very high up in the air, hundreds of feet into the air. One eyewitness said that it was approximately 300 to 400 feet in the air when he first exited his power plant, which is a neighboring plant to this facility. I was talking with a gentleman earlier. His name was Bob. He said he didn't really hear the explosion. Another colleague of his did, but they said, hey, we need to get out of here as quickly as possible. We got an incident behind us. They got out. Everybody evacuated safely. We also learned since then that everyone within the Shell facility has evacuated safely. It speaks obviously to how well prepared these plants are in times of emergencies, as well as this entire ship channel. Remember, you have something called SEMA, in which you have all of these refineries in all of these areas helping out, providing mutual aid in times like this. I want to also show you one key thing here, and Giovanni, if we can, I'm going to step into the shot here, Giovanni Luna. You know, you're thinking about how they're fighting over there, but look, you can see there are fire hydrants right there. There's another one about a good 100 yards down the road, and so forth. So you do know that there are fire hydrants inside of these facilities, so firefighters and their units can obviously get inside of it, clamp on, and start fighting the fires as best as possible. And you can see where the water is spraying earlier. We had a lot more flames there. If you can see there, that water, that rainbow of water from first responders. When we first got here, there was a significant amount of flames that were coming out of that area, but that has been cut down dramatically here. You don't even see any more flames from, oh, there you go. You see a little bit now, but it's not what it was like just over an hour ago. Again, a dramatic scene to roll up on, because we were seeing this from miles away. You can see the flaring going on. That's the two towers behind me that are burning off. Obviously, the chemicals that they're burning off as they shut down the entire plant. They're flaring it off. But you had the flames from the fire itself that were going up, and it was a dramatic sight. And then when you look over here, you have 225 over to my right. And that's the highway here. If you're familiar with the ship channel, that's the highway that Keith and Daniela was referencing earlier. Traffic has been nonstop, moving smoothly throughout this entire area, throughout this process. And then you just look over to your right, and you've got the Shell refinery that's completely engulfed in flames. Fortunately, that big cloud of smoke that we saw earlier has dwindled dramatically. It is floating out towards the north there, towards the ship channel bridge that you have on the Beltway. You can see it there in the distance, and it's not impacting the neighboring communities of Deer Park and Pasadena as we've seen in the past with other incidents. But that's the very latest out here in Deer Park, as officials remind everyone that no one's been injured, there's no shelter in place, and they are working to get this thing completely shut out. Keith, Daniela?
Mario, you have a great vantage point. And my goodness, you're right. It's like night and day compared to, an hour and a half or 2 hours ago. That smoke is now white. We do still see some flames. But from where you are, do you have a sense of the manpower? Because we know that there were other agencies that responded to help out the folks at Shell. But did you get a sense, did you see any of the fire crews, the engines, and the firefighters there? Do you have a sense of how many might be in there helping?
You know what? That's a great question, Keith. I can see obviously that rainbow of water there, and it looks like it appears to be about 2 guns that they're using there off of a truck. It's a stable one because it's been maintained the entire time. But other than that, I haven't really been able to get a true measure as to how much personnel. I can tell you that outside the facility here, I haven't seen that much urgency. I did see a LaPorte emergency management vehicle go by. I did see an air pollution vehicle with regards to Harris County come by here, and I believe I did see one vehicle tied to Deer Park, a first responders vehicle. I did see an ambulance also about 30 minutes ago down the way here. But that's it. I haven't seen any other major units. Obviously, they're all inside there fighting this as best as possible. But in terms of the number of men, I don't know exactly how many. But keep in mind, Keith, you do have all of these areas, all of these fire departments up and down the ship channel go through vast training throughout the course of the year. They're experienced in times like these. They practice for times like these to ensure that the public and the workers in that plant are as safe as possible in the most dire of situations.
And Mario, real quick, if you turn around and face the plant, it'd be on your left-hand side. Does it appear that we're starting to get the smoke starting to get a little thicker again, and a couple of flames looking up a little bit more?
You know, it's been doing that every once in a while, Keith. I understand what you're trying to say, where you see it kind of thin out, and then all of a sudden you get some more black, but now we're seeing some white there too, right? You can look over, you see some white smoke, which is a good sign.
Yeah, I can imagine there are going to be flares for the next couple hours.
These are complex fires.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, these are complex fires. They're not easy. And they're going to have different characteristics at various vantage points. As they put out one area, you might have another area they got to go tackle, and it might be flaring up. But the good news is that smoke is nothing like what we saw earlier, and I don't hardly see any flames from my vantage point, which is a far cry from what it was, obviously, back at around 2:30 this afternoon when we first started getting images into the KPRC2 newsroom.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Huge difference. It's looking much better. Mario, thank you very much. Stay with us. This is all breaking news. It is flowing. We are going back and forth to our reporters. So we want to go back out to Rochelle, where we got word that Rochelle has somebody that she wants to speak to. We want to hear from. So let's go out to Rochelle right now. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Hey, Daniela, as I mentioned before, it has improved over the past 2 hours. I have Mr. Jose Garcia with me. And Mr. Jose, you said you actually came from Pasadena when you saw that big, thick black smoke.
Yeah, I was in Pasadena I was working on my truck, oil change, and looked up and I seen smoke, and I was like, oh dang, let me get a hold of some people I know that work here, and that's when they told me, there was an explosion or some kind of fire. So I came over here and checked it out. So that's pretty much it.
And the people that you do know that work here, how are they doing? Are they okay?
They're doing good. They were a bit shaken up. They were, who wouldn't be shaken up in this kind of situation? But they're doing good. I'll meet with them here in a few and talk about it.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
I work in this industry. I've been scared a couple times, similar things like this. So it's, it just comes down to safety when you're in there. Be your brother's keeper. So.
Right, and so far we have heard that there has been no reports of any injuries. There's no threat to the community, no immediate evacuation. So that's all good news. I know you guys were out here kind of watching as we were watching, but kind of talk about the emergency response that you've seen so far out here.
So I seen Houston, LaPorte, Deer Park. I've seen a lot of emergency response teams coming through. So that's the good thing. Everyone's working together to try to contain it. So hopefully, by the looks of it, it looks better than what it was. So I'm pretty sure they're doing a good job in there.
Okay, and we just learned that there was one person that was taken to the hospital. We're not sure the extent of their injuries, but we do know that one person was taken to the hospital. Mr. Garcia, thank you so much, and I hope you are okay and you take care and everything's good.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You too.
So guys, again, we just spoke with him. He came from Pasadena and saw the flames and the smoke in the air. He does have friends that work at this facility. He said they were all okay, but as I just mentioned, we just learned that one person was taken to the hospital. If you take a look right now, the fire has improved about 100%. It looks so much better than it did at 3 o'clock. You can see some smoke in the air, but it's not as bad as it was. It's more of like a
This is in
light
Houston?
gray color. We don't see flames shooting in the air, and that flaring noise that you guys can
We're
kind of
kinda
hear.
waiting on Court to come back.
It's still a little loud. It's still very hot, but again, we are learning more information.
And
By
thank you
the
for
minute,
coming
we
in.
just learned that somebody was taken to the hospital. As soon as we learn more information, we'll be sure to keep you posted. For now, Daniela, Keith, I'm going to toss it back to you in the studio.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you very
Yes.
much for that. I mean, we are seeing those flare-ups still from Mario's, view and
Whatever
that
you
black
do,
smoke. This may take a few hours
don't
to,
go to this
really
channel.
put out.
Yeah, this shot
They're
from us got too
horrible.
right
I'm gonna
here.
be
that's
giving
sort of
them a
the,
call
the
later.
front view right up close.
Or maybe
we have
tomorrow.
Seen,
Well, no,
smoke thicken up a
I'll
little
call
bit,
on
but
Monday.
as we've been discussing, there are going to be flare-ups, but that
Their
main
chat is
source
so-
appears to have died down quite a bit.
Their
and,
chat is
where
so
most of that
bad,
white smoke is coming
and they
from.
don't have any
whatever
mods in there.
structures were on fire.
They just let their
that has
chat
gotten
run
under
rapid
control.
like this.
But my goodness, hats off to these firefighters, the ones that are helping obviously from other agencies, but also the ones who were there initially. Remember, we saw only 3 trucks, about 3-4 hoses at the most. And they kept that thing, they kept it contained, they kept it from spreading. So remarkable job by them, my goodness.
And so we've been wondering about, the air quality control. There was no shelter in place put out. We were wondering about the wind and how that's affecting everything. So we've been talking to Frank, and let's go to him right now for that and for your weather.
Well, and you notice how the whole plume seems to have been starting to move the move a little bit. The sea breeze is kicking in.
All right.
Gotcha.
That's a whole different situation. So let's go back to my radar. This is at 256, and you can see we could pick up that signature on this this explosion just as it happened, and then it goes away because things are thinning out. And at the very end here, you're going to see a little green going off to from the southeast to the northwest. Right there, that's the sea breeze. We'll talk more about that, but I didn't want you to think that was another flare-up. That's not what I'm picking up there. In the meantime, there it is. This is I'm going to take it right on back to 256. You see this really big plume. To get a signature like that, you have to have what we saw today, because the radar beam goes out and then it's reflected back and it draws this picture, and it needs to see raindrops that are heavy enough to actually fall. It needs to see heavy rain, hail, birds, bats sometimes, but to see that kind of a smoke signature, that is a very thick bit of smoke. And then let me draw this out a little bit more, and you can see you almost have to squint a little bit here as we go out a little bit, but I put this on a fast mode so you can pick it up. See all this, the green that's moving through? That's the sea breeze that is moving in, and it's going right across Deer Park. So we'll take it in a little bit here, and you'll see I've slowed it down. See that right there? That is the sea breeze. So that's one of the reasons that we're seeing that smoke move now really from southeast to northwest. It was moving directly from south to north. And once the sea breeze, what's left of it later tonight when the sea breeze dies down, that's what's going to happen again. It's going to go, what's left of it will go from south to north. But right now it is moving a little to the northwest because of that sea breeze that has picked it up and probably flattened it out a little bit, knocking the top of it off just at least a little bit. But it is certainly still there. In addition, you can see there's the surface winds, and look at LaPorte. That's the sea breeze kicking in at 17 miles per hour versus 10, 8, 6 miles an hour elsewhere, 14 at Hobby. So the winds have picked up there. So thank goodness that they've really gotten this under control before this happened. So the timing on this was excellent. The only downside is it's been very hot. Temperatures right now, 87, 88, 90 in Houston, 92 in Spring and Tomball. Feels like numbers because of the humidity today, 100, 102. This is current, 101, 103 in the Woodlands. So it is really hot and really humid across that area. Again, though, we didn't have to have too many firefighters involved in this because fighting a fire like this is bad enough, but when it's this kind of heat and humidity, it's even that much worse. But the winds have picked up a little bit. They will die back down as certainly as the sun goes down. I'm not sure we'll have much of this left by then. That's right at 8 o'clock, but that will allow the winds to shift back to be more out of the south to north as opposed to right now southeast to northwest. Keith, Daniela?
Well, Frank, while we have you real quick, so, we know we're talking about the heat and the humidity that feels like, we know in the summertime how hot and those cars heat up when you're inside. But the firefighters, my gosh, I mean, they're like 30, 40 pounds of equipment fighting these hot flames. I mean, for them, it has to be miserable.
Oh, the suits alone that weigh so much, and it's so hot, yes, and then you're dealing with smoke, and in some cases, although we've been assured of this one, some cases you don't know what you're dealing with.
Right, exactly.
So there's that too, and so these structures, as well built as they are, you never know when they can start to come down, and so it's a dangerous job.
Yeah, goodness. Hats off to them for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Frank.
All right, if you're just now tuning in, right now you're getting a live look from Sky 2. This is a plant fire after an explosion at the Shell plant off Highway 225 and Center Street there in Deer Park.
It started at around 2:50 is what we're going with, and it was an explosion. This is at the Shell chemical plant on 225 Center Street, as Keith just mentioned, in Deer Park. And it was evacuated quickly. We have a report just of one person that was taken to the hospital. So far, there has been massive, massive flames that we have seen just raging out of this one particular spot where this water is being just dousing this one spot. We're seeing just a couple flames continue to flare up, but big plumes of black smoke have been coming out of here since about 2:30.
Another flare up right there.
Yep. Luckily, though, that black smoke has turned into lighter grays. We've seen some white smoke, which is really good signs that they're getting the upper hand. Things are getting much better. But as Keith just mentioned, we are seeing some flames. It's going to take a few hours to get this completely out if that happens today. But it looks like things are getting much better.
Yeah, and again, we just can't say enough. I mean, hats off to these firefighters today because, they did a remarkable job of keeping this contained. If you could still see those flames right there in the middle, right where those two hoses are hitting, those flames coming out were much thicker, when we came on the air at 3:15, so almost actually more than 2 hours ago. And you had this thick black column of smoke that was rising as well, and just this big, bright yellow and red. I'm actually partially colorblind, so I don't know the exact color, but this big flame in the middle that was just kept on flaring up. Yeah. And so it appears that the structure, now we see the white smoke, whatever structures around that main source, that main flame that were burning, those have relatively been taken care of and are in pretty good control. But you can still see where those flames right there in the middle licking up. What's happening is whatever the source is, they haven't been able to shut off what's feeding those flames right now, at least not for now.
Yeah, it's just not as thick. Those flames are a little thinner, a little more translucent, but it's still there. We have some crews there on the scene from our Sky 2. We've had Rochelle Turner out there. Mario Diaz is also out there. We've been talking to some people that live in the community that have been going out there and wondering what's happening in our community. They have friends that work in these refineries, concerned about their family and friends. And Mario Diaz is out there right now. We're going to check in with him. Hi, Mario.
Hey, Daniela, I can tell you that, I grew up in a refinery town. I grew up in Lake Jackson, where they have Dow Chemical. Communities like that in Deer Park and Pasadena, up and down this ship channel view. These refineries are where everybody makes their living for the most part. Many people obviously work inside of these refineries. So when you see a scene like this one behind me, it hits very close to home, because this is what is home for these people, these plants, and it's been that way for generations. And we talked about the site that we saw earlier, and let's be frank here, Keith and Daniela, we thought this was going to be much worse when we saw the type of flames that we were seeing earlier. Fortunately, as of right now, the reports are, as you just indicated, Daniela, we just do have one person being transported to a local hospital. It matches up with my eyewitness account of when I saw that ambulance that was speeding down here off the feeder to get onto 225 about an hour ago. Maybe there'll be reports of more, but at least we know of at least one. But for the most part, everyone was able to get out of here very quickly and safely. And then you see the first responders here. Yes, they are cutting down the flames, and you're seeing a little bit of a kick up there on top of that corner there by what I'm going to say that gray cylinder. You can see those flames still kicking up, but it's nothing, and I mean nothing like what we were seeing when we first got here on the scene, and of course what we saw back shortly after 2:30 in the afternoon when we first heard the reports of this plant and the explosion. I will tell you that what struck me from the moment I opened up the car door was the sound. You can hear this refinery roaring, and you can hear the fire there as well. And then you see the firefighters continuing to pour, and by this point, I mean, I'm not going to even guess, but I would safe to say that there's been tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of gallons of water that have been poured onto this scene. And they keep hitting that same particular area. And over the course of time, we started seeing the flames dwindle. What I also take away from this that's been kind of interesting to see is the fact that you have 225, the main expressway here, the state highway that runs right through the ship channel. If you work here, you live out here, you've been on it before, and the traffic's been flowing nonstop. Hasn't been stopped at any point. It's been allowed to continue to work through here. I took that personally as a good sign because obviously if you had an issue and you had greater concerns, they'd be shutting it down. But officials say no, they've got this thing under control. This plant is burning itself out. The flares that you see, those are those two big torches there, for lack of a better term, that are just burning off tons of flames and particles into the air right now. That's flaring. That's obviously what happens when you shut down these plants. We've seen them shut down like this in the past for hurricanes. They do it also when you have to an emergency of this magnitude on site. As I indicated earlier, these plants are very well equipped. They have fire hydrants all around the facility. So in a situation like this, any type of fire truck can come in, plug right in, and boom, you've got endless supply of water, which is a very good thing in a situation like this. You also have experienced personnel, firefighters who not only train here on site, but some who have gone up to, let's say, Teaks at Texas A&M and trained there. They train year-round in many instances, meaning that they'll have periodic trainings throughout the course of the year. Why? Because these are situations that they have seen come up many times in years past. There have been deadly situations, of course. We've known about those, but this time, fortunately, everything is under control, and they're trying to put things out as quickly as possible. But Daniela and Keith, as you started things off when you came to me, for these people, this is their backyard. Yeah. This is home. And days like today are very personal.
Indeed. It's close to home, Mario. Thank you for that and that personal touch as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are switching back over to NBC Nightly News on KPRC2.
But you can stay with us on KPRC2 Plus as our coverage of this fire continues. We'll be there in just a moment, and we will see you back here on KPRC2 at 6 o'clock.
KPRC2 News begins right now with breaking news.
Good evening, everyone. Candace and Daniela here joining you on KPRC2 Plus as we continue to follow this breaking news here. This is in Deer Park, where there has been an explosion at a Shell refinery plant. We first interrupted our programming to bring you this breaking news at around 3:15, and this is what we know so far. The company has confirmed a fire in one of its operating units and says that there is no threat to the public.
So far, we have no reports. Well, actually, we know that one person was injured. At first, they were reporting that there were no injuries. We do know that one person has been taken away to the hospital. We don't know that person's condition. Evacuations were done very quickly. There was no shelter in place ever issued, and at the moment officials are telling us there is no need for a shelter in place.
Shell was initially handling this fire emergency. The plant was also getting help from firefighters and surrounding departments. We have had team coverage all day long with crews. They've been spread out in Deer Park, but we've seen huge, Candace, flames out there. And now we finally are starting to see some white smoke, which is some hope. But this is a map for you to see where the explosion is exactly. This is in Deer Park and 222 and Center Point Street. That explosion, that Shell chemical plant, although everyone knows it as an area where there's the refineries, this is also, let's not forget, a community where people live and a lot of loved ones work. In an area where this is a fear, where this could happen, and it has happened. And so this hits close to home for a lot of people. And so we always like to remember that also, as this is also a risk. But as this is looking a lot better, this is still a danger zone because there are flames that continue to flare up.
If you're just joining us, as Daniela said, when we first started reporting on this around 3:15, it was a tremendously big plume of smoke in the air, and the flames were much higher. We do have some crews on the scene right now. Let's go to our Rochelle Turner. She's been there. She was the first reporter on the scene. Rochelle, drastically different looking out there compared to what you saw when you first arrived.
Candace, Lisa, I can tell you that we've seen big improvements to this fire. Take a look. Now, you can still see some smoke in the air, but it's not that thick black smoke that I was telling you guys about just before or just after 3 o'clock. Things have started to calm down. We do know that one person was taken to the hospital. We're still waiting to learn more about their condition. But at this hour, we're still waiting to hear from officials about exactly what caused this fire and what may be burning in the air. We do know there's no threat to the community. There's no shelter in place. Now, in the past hour, I have spoken to 2 people who saw these flames from Pasadena, from in their backyards, and came down here to try to get a better view. And they also had loved ones who worked at this facility. Now, those particular loved ones are okay, but many people in the community tell me that they've seen instances like this happen in the past, but you know, they're happy to hear that this was not as serious and that there was not as many injuries that have been reported so far besides that one. But from where we are standing, it's still very hot out here. On top of that 90 degrees weather, it almost feels like we're standing right next to the fire, even though we are across the street just in a parking lot on the frontage road. But the flames have gotten significantly better here in the past hour. We don't see flames shooting up in the sky like we did earlier, and the flaring has also decreased as well. So we are still waiting to learn exactly what caused this fire and what exactly may be burning. But for right now, I'm going to toss it back to you, Candace and Lisa, in the studio. And as soon as we get those updates, we'll be sure to keep you posted. Excuse me.
Well, you mentioned...
I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. Rochelle, I do want to ask you, because I remember talking to you in the 4 o'clock hour. You were talking about the smell and you were talking about the smoke in that area just from where you are on the other side of the road. Is all of that changing as well?
Yes, we still at this hour don't smell anything. There's no burn or any type of different sensation to our skin or our eyes, but we can definitely hear the noise. It's almost like a hissing noise, as if you were standing next to a train and it was getting ready to start. It's extremely loud. But it seems for the most part that crews have been able to get this under control. We have seen maybe dozens and dozens of law enforcement agencies from Deer Park to LaPorte to Harris County, you know, heading this way, trying to get to the blaze and assess the situation. So right now we're just waiting to see what may have caused this fire.
Yeah, I find it so interesting that there's no smell or no difference in you know, in the way that you feel. It was just so big, but you know, you do say that it's so hot, you're so close to it, which I think is natural. Rochelle, thank you. You've done such a great job out there. First reporter on the scene. Great job, Rochelle. What a difference, Candace. We've been out here for several hours now. This is making, and to be honest, I'm really surprised that this isn't worse than what we've seen.
So
just one
thankful to hear that.
person, and which is great to hear, actually. Just one person transported to the hospital that we've heard so far, because those flames were just massive. I mean, the way that the fire was just raging, it was like a red, orange, like intense. The intensity of that fire was just incredible, and just the explosions just kept happening one after another. Of course, it's the crude oil just fueling. So I'm just so happy that it wasn't just so much worse than what we're seeing.
And your description, spot on. Mario Diaz had talked to an eyewitness actually who was out there. He was at another plant and he was evacuated. He said they didn't even hear anything when it happened, but when they came outside, they saw the smoke, they saw the fire, and it was intense.
Yeah, he said he wasn't even that close and he felt that the flames were on top of him.
Right,
like,
exactly.
That's how intense it was. And speaking of Mario Diaz, he's been out there for a long time as well and giving us some really good insight. He grew up in Lake Jackson, knowing how close the community is out there. So many loved ones, you know, growing up in the refinery community know how close this hits home for so many people. When this happens out there,
Looks like
Mario,
the
everyone
black
just,
smoke has started up
sighs
again.
and holds their breath to find out that, you know, is anyone hurt? Is everyone okay? But aren't you pretty surprised that this wasn't worse than what it was? And thankfully, it's not. Reporting that just one person is transported.
Well, and that's great news, right? That is absolutely great news, Daniela. And I will tell you that, you know, when you're in a town, like I said earlier, I grew up in Lake Jackson, or the people here, the first thing that's going to come to your mind is a prayer. You want to make sure that everyone inside of that facility there behind me is okay. And fortunately today, all we're hearing from officials is that one person has been transported to the hospital. And after seeing what we saw in the afternoon, you're like, goodness. That's incredible, because this was a dramatic fire, and it still is a challenging fire. You can see the flames there kicking up there off that corner of that building. That wasn't the case just 20 minutes ago. So you still have these pockets of time in which you're starting to see these flames go back up, and then they go down, and you seem like you have to take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back to actually find some progression and success in fighting these blazes. It is a challenge for any community up and down the ship channel whenever you have a situation like this. I mean, it's home. You have generations of families that have made their name and their history off of these plants. And there are many here. I mean, just keep in mind, you had an incident here just a few years ago with ITC that took place, a massive fire, and that burned for quite some time. And it had so much uncertainty behind it because of the fact that you had the winds that were blowing in different directions. And you also have the issues of, is that smoke gonna blow into my backyard? But that's just life in a refinery town. That's life along the ship channel. It's part of what you have to understand is the potential consequence, or the potential reality, I should say, if something actually happens where things go sideways. Fortunately, first responders are on the scene here. They're very well equipped. They're very well trained. These are some of the finest firefighters you can find anywhere. These facilities have water pipelines with many hydrants inside, fixed locations in which fire units can come in, plug in their hose, and have an unlimited supply of water. They're prepared for situations like this, and they've come a long way from where they were decades ago, where you do have challenges in the past that truly have become learning lessons for the future. And we find ourselves now in a day like today, where when we saw those images, Candace and Daniela, in our newsroom, we were like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a tough day and a very, very long night. And as of right now, we're getting word that this is under control. There's no danger to the public. No shelter in place is required. And only one person, as of right now, has been transported to the hospital. Considering everything we have seen, it truly is a remarkable storyline that we're now seeing at about 5:40 in the evening on this Friday. Danielle and Candace.
Mario, thank you so much. Yeah, that's just great context, great insight. We are just waiting for a media briefing that is scheduled to happen about 5 minutes from the Harris County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez will be speaking, giving us an update, but we have been following his tweets, and he's been sending some updates as well, saying that he's on the scene right now, getting some information, and preliminary information that Candace and I are getting here is that there has been no off-site impact. He says that it was a fire. He's saying that there was no explosion. There was a heat exchange between 2 heavy gas oils. Preliminary information saying that the fire is diminishing and it's contained. The product is being depressurized, visible flares are there is to relieve pressure, and he's confirming that 5 contractors were reported and taken to the hospital. So before we were reporting one person was taken to the hospital. Ed Gonzalez here tweeting that it was 5 people now.
And he also mentioned that those 5 people were taken to the hospital as a precautionary measure, largely because of the heat. So we know it's a precautionary measure. So that's good to hear too.
Yeah. Chief Meteorologist Frank Billingsley was talking about the heat. I mean, it has been a hot day. And
very hot.
We know with all the equipment that these firefighters also have to deal with, these contractors are also working outside, you know, in the heat and these fires. I mean, the person that Mario was talking to was talking about how close he was to the fire. And how
Mario made a great point too about the firefighters who have been consistently working to put this fire out. We said we started reporting on it about 3:15. They've been out there. And you know, they're right there in it. So there's the risk of dehydration and all of that. So great work they're doing. It's so good to see the intensity of this fire decline as we continue to report on it. They're definitely making an impact in this situation.
Yeah, so as soon as we get to that media briefing, it starts, we're going to go right to it just to confirm all this information. You know, with breaking news, as broadcasters, we get you the facts, what we know, what we've been able to confirm, and just the information that we confirm from officials. And so we like to wait for these media briefings just to.
And in a situation like this, the information changes minute by minute. Just like at the beginning when we first reported, we didn't hear of any injuries, and then it went to 1, and now we're hearing 5 people were taken to the hospital as a precautionary measure. So
yeah,
definitely lots of information, lots of questions that still need to be answered, and we'll hopefully get a lot of that information at 5:45. That's when the sheriff is saying that they will go into the media briefing.
Yeah, but we do want to get to Chief Meteorologist Frank Billingsley, who's been on for hours talking to us about how the weather has also been impacting this. Surprisingly, there's been no shelter in place. Seeing all this smoke, it looks so scary and very dramatic. But this wind, he's been analyzing the wind and the smoke and how this has been impacting.
Well, and this smoke was so thick we were able to pick it up on radar. Yeah. And in order to pick it up, it's got to be something there that reflects this signal back. And it certainly was. This was right there around 250. 256 started to pick that up, and you could see that continued to move off toward the Channelview area. Now we're actually picking up a bit of the sea breeze across the area. Here's a little wider view. That's what we were seeing earlier, and now you'll see a few green areas that move off to the west. That's the sea breeze that's been coming in, and so that has shifted the winds a bit. They were generally on the light side, which was great news, out of the south at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now they are generally southeast with that sea breeze coming in. In fact, here's a little bit. You can see, if you really blink, you can see a little bit of those green specks going by, but that's it coming in, and it moves right across the Deer Park area and is pulling some of that smoke off to the northwest. So that's the reason for that. It's going a little tighter here. We can see a little bit there. I slow it down, and you can see just a little bit reflected with that. So that's been the wind shift, and you can see in LaPorte it's also picked up 17 miles an hour, 14 at Hobby, 10 in Spring, 12 in Dayton. So a pretty good little southwest or southeast to northwest wind is what we are seeing now. That's going to change back to be more south once the sun goes down, but that's not until 8 o'clock. So another couple of hours of this kind of a flow. So we're seeing that continue. We were talking about the heat. Look at these numbers, and these are current temperatures: 88, 90, 92 in Spring and Tomball, 87 Baytown and Dayton, 84 down in Webster. The humidity has been in the 55 to 60% range throughout the afternoon. Right now, the feels like numbers 100, 101, 102 in the Woodlands, 101 all the way to Brenham. So it is hot, and it feels even hotter across the area, and that's going to continue as we go, it looks like, right on into the weekend. No big changes. Here's a little wider view. Galveston, 15 mile an hour winds, 12 in Lake Jackson. But that's the flow right now, is southeast to northwest. That will shift back to be more south if there is anything left of this system by the time we get to 8 o'clock. It looks like things are improving pretty rapidly, but they're not completely gone, Daniela.
Okay. Frank, I mean, yeah, that smoke was really intense. You could see it from really far away. Thank you for that. We are continue to wait for this media briefing. It was scheduled to start about a minute ago. We're told that everyone is standing by, but we continue to watch this these from Sky 2, these flames, and this actually looking much better than it did when it started at around 2:50 this afternoon. But these flames, Candace, I mean, they continue to be. These flames continue to intensify. You know, you never know the behavior of fire.
Because right now we're watching it. It goes out, it comes back up as the water is on it.
And fire is really unpredictable because we don't know the products that are in these units and that are in these facilities, and you know, and in these surrounding refineries. We don't know what's feeding into it through these pipes. And so I think that that's what is so unpredictable and what is the concern, you know, for not only the firefighters, but for Shell. And so they want to wait and see, and they continue to evacuate. But it's not enough of a concern to put in a shelter in place, and so I think that's great for the surrounding communities.
That is definitely comforting to
worry
hear
about
if you live in this area.
We do want to say that we were waiting for that media briefing at 5:45. We were just told that that's now being delayed until 6 o'clock. So in the meantime, we're going to fill in some time and go to Mario Diaz, who's been out there. He's one of our reporters, as well as Rochelle Turner. They've been out in the field talking to some community members that have been coming out to see what's going on.
Mario, for the people who weren't able to hear from the eyewitness that you talked to in our 4 o'clock hour, can you kind of talk about what he saw and his experience when he evacuated the plant?
Yeah, very simple. He said that he was inside a plant, a power plant, right in front of the chemical refinery here for Shell, and they get an alert. All of a sudden they say, hey, you got to get out of the building. And he said that he didn't hear a thing, but one of his colleagues heard the explosion. He's running out. They're going out there, right? They're running around. He says he looks back and he just sees this plume of smoke and all these flames. He said it was about 300-400 feet up in the air when we were talking. And I'm trying to envision that, right? I've been trying to envision walking out of my newsroom out of Channel 2 and looking back and seeing that kind of destruction and devastation. That's what's the reality here.
Just to show that I'm still waiting.
That work in the refinery business here along the ship channel.
I'm still waiting. I mean, it's crazy that they ain't doing nothing. They ain't showing nothing. They haven't there's no update, nothing.
And in some instances we have seen over the course of a night and into the very next day quite easily. Right now, though, we do know that this fire is, according to officials, is under control. You still have some of that flaming there that's going on, right? But they feel like they have the bulk of this situation easily under control. They're just going to have to work on it until they get it completely out. Officials are going to be updating us here at the top of the hour as to exactly what happened here, the latest information. We'll probably hear about how many people got injured. You'll hear about the response. What's also important to understand, and one of the questions that I've already sent in to get asked, what's still burning? Because obviously there's still a lot burning, and you can see it in the black smoke that continues to rise right before you there. And it's rising towards the Ship Channel Bridge off of the Beltway on the east side of the city. But another interesting aspect that they're going to have to also address is what kind of monitoring is the state doing right now? You do know that you have something in Texas called TCEQ, which is the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality. They monitor situations like this. They come in and investigate situations like this to see exactly what happened and what went up into the air. We also have Harris County air pollution control. They're out here. I saw their vehicles rolling around. We had Harris County OEM. I saw a LaPorte OEM. In these situations, you're going to have multiple agencies. They're going to come, they're going to descend on the scene, and they're going to all work together, collaborate to identify what went up, why did it go up, and what do we have to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's the key thing here, is the lesson learned from an incident like this to make this plant and other plants up and down the ship channel safer for employees and for the communities around here for years to come. but it is quite the scene. It's not as loud, fortunately, as it was about 2 hours ago. I mean, imagine your television. They don't do this anymore, but when the TV used to go white noise, it's when you saw all those little pixels, kind of like what we call today pixels, on the screen, and you just hear that noise and amplify that at least by 500 times. It was extremely loud, and you hear it roaring, and you saw the fire there. But this image now is completely different. In fact, it'll be interesting if we can pull the video to show where we were at 3 o'clock later on today and where we're at in the evening, early evening, between 5:30 and 6, to show you how dramatic things are in terms of how different it looks. But then now, look, you've got the flare of the black smoke going on once again. But these are the challenges that they're dealing with right now as they're working to put this fire out as quickly as possible. Again, we're waiting for the update from officials. They're going to have local officials as well as county officials there. You may have a person from TCEQ in the state weighing in with what happened and what exactly is still burning and going up into the air. But that's the very latest out here in Deer Park. Daniela and Candace, back to you.
A lot of good points there, Mario. And you mentioned, too, with the person that you spoke with, I believe it was Bob, that was his name, the evacuation process that was in place, because
fast.
all of the plants that are around this area, it's good to know that they have plans in place to get people out in situations like this.
They have to. I mean, if you think about it, this is a very dangerous situation you're dealing with when you're working with these type of chemicals. If things go sideways, you know, I can probably equate it best to like an airplane. And you know, you get on an airplane, you have those plans. Yeah. Workers behind me here at these facilities are always hearing about emergency plans. What's the very latest update? And also you have the firefighters who work within the facilities and also around the facilities who train not only here on site at various points throughout the course of the year, but also at specialized locations. Perfect example, Teaks up at Texas A&M. They have a chemical plant replica there. They're able to fire it up, and you have teams going in and out, learning the best strategy to fight the fire. They're going in, they're coming out as a group. You have them foaming the entire area, and it gives them the practice, that necessary practice, to understand situations like this one better and recalibrate their plans to make sure that they're able to cut down a fire like this in no time. I mean, you pointed it out best earlier, Daniela, when we were talking about this. You know, when we saw the first images come on, we were like, uh-oh. Yeah. This one's big.
It looked big.
And here's where we're at right now.
You know, Mario, I got to say, I'm kind of surprised especially when we were seeing those massive flames. I was a little scared and surprised when I saw that one lone white truck trying to take on this massive Goliath of a flame with those two, you know, waters dousing that massive flame. I thought, you know, because when we see a house fire or a building on fire, you see like this, you know, mass fire trucks coming in, the ladders like putting out the fires, and then you see, you know, this white truck trying to put it out. But these refineries, like, they have pipes, water pipes, and like in place inside, like ready to douse the refineries when things like this happen. I mean, they expect these risky situations to happen, and they have strategic pipes there ready to just douse these flames when these emergencies happen. But I got to tell you, I was a little worried when I saw this, but they know exactly how to take these emergencies down when it happens. But I was worried at first.
Hey, Daniela, if I can jump in here, if you don't mind. It's, you know, think about a restaurant, right? And a kitchen in a restaurant. You have a sprinkler system overhead.
Right.
These plants are very similar in that they have their emergency system in place. So it makes everything easy to tackle a fire like this as quickly as possible.
Exactly.
The fire itself may not be easy. That's a fact. These fires can be very complex, but the accessibility to lock in a hose, to get yourself established, they try to make that as easy as possible. And again, this plant is completely shut down. The flames that you're seeing out of those two towers right there, that's called flaring. And this happens when they have to quickly shut down or make an emergency shutdown. And that's what you're seeing there from those flames.
Right.
Mario Diaz.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mario, for that context, all of that information, the personal stories that you had with that. Rochelle Turner has been on the scene. She was the first reporter at the plant to report what she was seeing when she got there. And Rochelle, you got there around 4 o'clock, right? And so things are dramatically different from when you first arrived. Can you talk about what you saw when you first got there and what you're seeing now?
Hey, Candace, yes, you're correct. Things were crazy when we got here. It was something that I've never seen before. When me and my photojournalist pulled up, I was like, what in the world? You could see thick black smoke coming from this shell facility. There was flaring, there was flames going up into the air, maybe about 60, 70 feet. And so we were trying our best to stay as far as we could away from this fire because we didn't know what was burning. We didn't know what causes fire. We've heard about explosions before in the past, and so we wanted to make sure we were safe. But in the past 2 hours, we have seen this fire improve. The wind has started to shift more to the north. The fire has diminished. It's been put out, but it's still under control. And we've seen the smoke. It's not as thick and black as it was before, but now it's more of a dark grayish, light grayish color. We do see also some white smoke in the air.
I think the smaller one is live and the other from earlier.
For precautionary reason, largely due to the heat.
It's not
about
under
90
control.
degrees out here. And when you factor in this fire and the smoke and just how close we are, it doesn't seem like we're very close, but from where we're standing, it's extremely hot. There was no explosion, so that's good news to report because a lot of people were asking us questions as to what happened. Is there going to be some type of... But we are waiting for a press conference to start any minute now, so I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio and see you at 6 o'clock. For now, reporting live in Deer Park, I'm Rochelle Turner, KPRC 2 News.
Rochelle, thank you. You've been watching KPRC 2 Plus at 5:30. We're going to go to KPRC 2 at 6 o'clock right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna look and see if there's anything else that's breaking right now. I know this is important, but not really anything. There's nothing really.
Do a quick Spanish and then answer questions.
I'm sorry, sir. Let me get one other person.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I'll answer anything investigation.
To see if it starts soon.
Everyone ready?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay. Ed Gonzalez, Harris County Sheriff, joined here by other key partners that have been involved in the response out here. To my right, from the lead agency, the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office, I have been in touch with Fire Marshal Laurie Christensen. We have Deputy Chief Lawhorn. We have Captain Singleton. To my left, I have team members from the Harris County Sheriff's Office. We have Captain Douglas, that was one of the first ones on the scene, as well as Assistant Chief Tommy Diaz and Major Saul Suarez. What we know right now is that, most importantly, there is no off-site impact. There was no actual explosion. This was a fire. It was a heat exchange between two heavy gas oils. The fire is diminishing. And contained on site, pretty much within the perimeter where everything happened at. The product is being depressurized at this time. The visible flares that we could still see from the highway, those are there simply to relieve some of the pressure. We've started opening up the roadways. We're starting now to also just other personnel that's not needed on site. They're being relieved so that they could go on to other duties at this point. So these things are always scary when they initially happen, and we're just trying to get the best information we can. We also are waiting for a representative from Shell Oil, but they're not here yet, so we didn't want to delay this press conference anymore. So hopefully they'll be coming out with some type of statement here soon to advise the public of their information. Ultimately, they're the ones that have the answers, to what's happening ongoing. And the 5 tractors that were transported, it's precautionary. It's not anything directly related to the fire, just mainly the heat and responding and again, just the heat and the equipment and everything. So it's our understanding there's no serious injuries that have been reported at this time. Brevemente, lo que tenemos aquí es que el incendio en este momento está contenido. No fue una explosión, sino un incendio. No hay impactos a la comunidad alrededor. Y fue un intercambio entre 2 gases medios pesados que ocurrieron. Un intercambio entre los 2 gases. El incendio ya se está disminuyendo más o menos donde pasó todo. La lumbre que todavía miran es solamente para bajar la presión de que existe dentro de los tubos, entonces eso va a ser visible. Entonces todo por el momento está contenido. Entonces va a haber una investigación más externa para ver exactamente qué pasó. 5 personas fueron trasladadas al hospital. Nos dice que están
Wow, why did they cut him off?
That right there, the sound of a serious situation in Deer Park. 3 hours and counting.
That was
We have been
rude.
monitoring that fire at the Shell chemical plant.
We have watched the flames all afternoon. This was our first image right here from our Sky 2 helicopter. You can see the thick black smoke high in the air here.
And at 3:32, as we brought you live coverage, we saw this burst of flames as our helicopter flew above that Shell chemical plant.
In the 4 o'clock hour.
quality control issues. Harris County air pollution is out here on site.
Wow.
So we're monitoring that right now. So far, nothing has been reported. I think we have a representative, so if she wants to join us as well.
Then
Harris
cut
County,
back when he's not speaking Spanish.
pollution,
That's
center
so
is here
bad.
as well. They're always on site and do a terrific job, so they can answer that. You want to maybe respond to that real quick about the pollution control and your name and title?
Hello. Hello, my name is Kamisha Sonye, and I'm the Deputy Director of Harris County Pollution Control Services. And currently the emergency response team is out there and they're doing monitoring. And we also have air monitoring, which is our RAM is also out there. And so you all can always look at our website where it will show where all the points are dropped at if we have any type of problem. Thank you.
Have you had like any dashboard information that's like available yet, or are you still?
Yes, it's
compiling
actually on our website.
We're not seeing any impacts at this time?
No, not at this time.
How long will you all kind of be here monitoring the situation?
Actually, we plan on monitoring until the fire goes out.
And what have they told you what chemical was burning?
We're gonna, I'll have to get back with you on that.
Have they not told you that?
They probably have. I just got on scene. My apologies.
No problem.
Sheriff, you said it was something about a heat exchange. Can you repeat that? What caused the
Yeah,
fire?
it was described to me as a heat exchange that occurred between two heavy gas oils. So I don't know if one of you want to touch on what a heat exchange would cause.
That's a tall dude.
Captain James Singleton, our initial report was that they were working on the unit, and this unit processes a cracked heavy gas oil. As far as how it was caused, we're still under investigation.
Do you know the name of that unit?
No, the properties, this facility is owned by Shell. Don't have the unit name.
Was there no explosion? Was that the case? No explosion, or there was?
There was no explosion. There was a leak that ignited shortly after the initial leak.
And this was they were doing like routine maintenance kind of things going on. What was that?
That I'm still trying to determine. We're doing interviews right now. It's a little early on, but we are doing interviews right now, and we're waiting to gain access to the site once the fire's out.
So the people who were injured were where in relation to the fire?
Don't have that information right now.
And are you satisfied with the level of communication you're getting from the facility?
Yes, I would say that Shell's been very cooperative so far, and we're getting good cooperation.
Does anybody put information on the care line anymore?
That would be up to Shell. Yeah, that would be up to the facility to do that.
So it was 5 contract employees, is that right? And
It's our understanding there were 5 contractor employees.
And they were just, it was a precautionary.
That's what we're told. It was precautionary, primarily due just to heat, exhaustion type things, just the natural heat of the day and the fire and proximity and things like that, but nothing where they're seriously injured. That's the preliminary information we have.
Yeah, to your knowledge, no one was burned in the fire.
To our knowledge, no one was burned.
Do we know what was done to put out the fire? Was it used water, chemicals?
But before we do, we have some preliminary information on the gas. I wanted to just update real quick. Again, it's still preliminary. It's like a precursor to. It's one of the products that creates the gas or develops.
Correct. It's actually a hydrocarbon, which is a heavy gas, which is a precursor to production of gas in diesel. Thank you.
The mayor described it as burnt carbon or something like that.
Yeah, I think all of that. A lot of that will really be once we. Our fire marshals and Shell could give more information. Again, I was hoping that they were here. We were waiting, give them some time to get here. We didn't want to delay at least giving you some information, and that's why we came on board.
It sounds like people that live in the immediate area were never under any danger. There was no shelter in place.
There was nothing of that sort. If not, we would have mobilized pretty quickly. As I mentioned, Captain Douglas was pretty much on ground zero pretty quickly. He was here pretty quick and would have alerted us. We also have our industrial liaisons, our deputies that are from the Harris County Sheriff's Office, very experienced. They're pretty much on site. I went on site by where the fire is taking place right now. I was in very close proximity, so we had conversations. So everything appears to be under control.
Tell us what you saw, Sheriff, when you were standing.
Yeah, we have the SEMA command post there. Again, it's unified command. We could see the flares in proximity, but I didn't see any raging fires at that point anymore. Did you want to add anything?
Sheriff, ¿sabemos si van a venir las autoridades de Shell a hablar a los medios de comunicación?
Los invitamos que vinieran. Parece que estaban escribiendo un statement para dar, y también los invitamos. Yo pensaba que iban a llegar aquí en tiempo, pero no están. Al final es la propiedad de ellos y ellos tienen que responder para los hechos que pasaron ahí.
Tardamos cerca de 2 horas en recibir información oficial para informar a la comunidad. ¿Hubo una buena comunicación entre los directivos y las autoridades?
Sí, pues nosotros sí pusimos algo de información inicial, lo que íbamos aprendiendo. Nunca dijimos que era algo necesariamente impacto a la comunidad, aunque yo sé que hay angustia. Entonces ellos últimamente al final son los que tienen que decir, pero sí hemos estado nosotros en la escena donde pasaron los hechos. Entonces yo pienso que la comunicación siempre está bien, obviamente que siempre puede estar mejor. Muchas cosas están pasando muy rápidas. Cuando estamos hablando que personas fueron trasladadas, estamos tratando de disminuir el peligro. También hay personas que están monitoreando el aire. Entonces hay muchas cosas pasando y siempre quisiéramos ser un poco más rápido, todos que están respondiendo, pero también queremos tener las cosas factuales.
Given the amount of smoke in the air, I guess I'm surprised that there wasn't a shelter in place. I'm a layman. Is there anyone that can speak to the level of why not today and why other times?
Anybody want to speak to?
Did that have to do with the direction of the wind?
I read the advisories from, I think, LaPorte and Deer Park both said that there wasn't a very strong wind that was necessarily moving anything. Everything was still contained. And then once they determined what it was and that it was pretty much, they started depressurizing everything, it basically is putting itself out in a way. There wasn't a concern that it was going to spread and there was no impact. The flame was contained, and I don't know if anybody wants to do anything more detailed than that.
Who's the one that makes that call?
It would be the unified command that's on scene. Who makes that type of call if there would be a concern?
The authority having jurisdiction.
Yeah. So in this case, it would have been you all, right? To determine.
Actually, it would have been the local fire department, the fire chief, or the police chief.
Yeah, if they felt that it was an actual threat to the rest of the public.
And when it first happened, they were talking about, did they evacuate all the employees, and then what happened then?
They started trying to account for everyone, and it was our understanding that everybody was accounted for, and folks that ran from that initial perimeter where everything happened. As big as it was, it seemed pretty much contained inside the facility. It's a pretty large complex. It took us quite a bit to navigate our way into the hot zone, if you will, and so it was pretty much contained there, and everybody had already been moved back.
Do you have any idea how many employees, people were in the kind of immediate area when it happened?
No, that's something we're going to have to probably timeline, and Shell will have to provide. Yeah.
From the fire marshal's office, I mean, so this has been described as routine maintenance. So then, what could have happened to spark a fire if this happened? Is routine?
Well, they took the string down.
In the early reports, they were doing maintenance. In this
they
type
didn't
of
come
event,
on and say
you can
anything.
easily have a leak of product, and it can easily find an ignition source. Tools can be used that cause spark. They have tools they're supposed to use that don't cause that, but it's going to be part of the investigation.
No longer
as we
live.
look to find out what the sequence of events was. Was there a leak prior to the fire as being initially described?
I guess I'm going to go down until it comes back up.
From our vantage point, there's been
I'm
a
gonna keep
significant fire,
trying.
but we've not been close to the unit due to the safety concerns so far.
You said you had to interview.
I'll be in Discord.
Any idea how many people you need to talk to?
That'll be part of the investigation. On an investigation such as this, you're looking at a large number of people that have to be interviewed. Everyone that was at the unit at the time of the fire, the controllers, management, anybody that called 911. There's a significant number of interviews involved in the investigation.
How long is it going to take?
I'm making plans for the weekend. We'll be out here a while.
I also want to just briefly thank all
All
the
right.
first responders
Love
that
you
did
guys.
show up
Thanks for
out here
coming
from
in
all
and
the